Welcome to English Speak Pulse, where fluency begins with you. I'm Danielle, and let me ask you something. Have you ever studied English for months or even years, but still felt unsure when it's time to actually speak, write, or understand native speakers? You're not alone. Millions of learners face the same struggle, not because they don't know English, but because they don't know how to connect all the skills together.
And I'm Sarah. You're absolutely right, Danielle. It's not about memorizing thousands of words or grammar rules. It's about learning the smart way. The truth is, fluent speakers use techniques that most learners never even think about. Once you understand those, your English can transform faster than you ever imagined.
So, what if we told you that just by changing a few daily habits, the way you listen, read, and even think in English, you could boost every part of your communication skills?
Exactly. In this episode, we're revealing the essential research-backed tips that help real learners speak naturally, write clearly, and sound confident, without feeling nervous or robotic.
From grammar and vocabulary to IELTS strategies and advanced speaking, we've packed everything you need into one journey that will truly reshape how you learn English.
So, are you ready to discover the small changes that create massive fluency results? Because after today, English won't just be something you study, it'll be something you live.
Let's get started, and begin with your first and most powerful step, mastering English grammar to build a foundation that lasts.
Welcome to the Deep Dives. Today, we are wrestling with a topic that nearly every learner we hear from considers, well, kind of a necessary evil. Grammar. It's often taught as this, list of archaic rules you have to memorize and then promptly forget.
Right.
But what if grammar was actually the secret ingredient to, natural fluent English?
Exactly. And, before anyone switches off thinking this is going to be some dry textbook reading, let's reframe it a bit.
Okay.
What the research really highlighted is that grammar isn't just about correctness. It's fundamentally about clarity.
Clarity.
Think of it less like a fussy librarian and more like the essential frame of a building, you know? Without that structure, everything, your vocabulary, your brilliant ideas, it falls apart.
That makes sense.
So our mission today, really, is to show you how that frame holds together not just words, but your entire meaning.
Yeah, and the core mistake, and I think every single learner can relate to this, is treating grammar like it's a separate academic subject.
Totally separate, yeah.
You study the tense tables in isolation. Maybe you can ace a multiple choice test on subject-verb agreement. But then you freeze up the moment you try to actually use it in a conversation.
Precisely. We need to bridge that gap. Our core mission here, then, is to demonstrate how grammar should, live inside your speech.
Live inside your speech? I like that.
When the structure becomes habitual, the speaking flows naturally. Your brain isn't constantly translating. So we're going to look at some of those tiny errors that kill fluency, how grammar is actually used to paint emotion and time.
Oh, interesting.
And then we'll give you a pretty simple formula for actually applying it.
Okay, let's jump right into section 1 then, reframing grammar. So the first sort of counterintuitive takeaway from the source material is this. The goal isn't perfection. That often makes you slow, hesitant.
Right.
The goal is actually accuracy with comfort. Grammar should guide you, not, control you.
Exactly. And the analogy we pulled from the notes is, I think, brilliant. Think of grammar like traffic lights.
Okay, traffic lights.
Yeah, traffic lights don't exist to stop traffic, do they? They exist to organize the flow, making it faster, safer, and much smoother overall.
Ah, I see. So when you know the signals.
Your thought process is instantaneous, and you just move with confidence. The grammar becomes automatic.
Okay, let's look at 2 classic fluency killers and these small grammatical shifts that have a really immediate, almost disproportionate impact on how confident you sound.
Yeah.
The first one is agreement, especially in the present tense. We still frequently hear the error, he don't like coffee.
Oh, it's so pervasive, yeah. The correct sort of polished way is, of course, he doesn't like coffee.
Right.
Now, why does that little SIDS matter so much? Well, because small, predictable errors like that instantly signal to the listener that the speaker is still thinking probably in their native language first.
Doing the translation step.
Exactly, before constructing the English sentence. It's like a momentary cognitive stutter, and it just reduces your perceived confidence immediately.
Okay, so getting that simple subject-verb agreement locked down is pretty foundational. What's the second killer?
It centers on modal verbs, those little helper words. We often hear things like, she can sings very well, or maybe I must goes now.
Right. And the simple rule, which gets broken all the time when translating, is that modals like can, should, must, might, they're always followed by the base form of the verb, right?
The base form, always. She can sing, not she can sings.
Simple when you say it like that.
It is. That pattern is really rigid in English, and when you break it, the listener's brain has to do a tiny momentary correction.
Okay.
So the key here isn't just knowing the rule intellectually, it's recognizing that English relies on this kind of scaffolding. We use can to carry the meaning of ability, and the main verb just tags along in its simplest form.
Right.
Getting that specific pattern into your sort of muscle memory, that's how you move past that intermediate plateau.
Okay. This actually moves us very smoothly into what I think is the most fascinating section, how grammar really acts as a communication tool beyond just, basic correctness. We're in section 2. Grammar paints time and emotion.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is that grammar is directly connected to time awareness. It's fundamental.
Time awareness.
Every tense you choose tells the listener not just what happened, but critically, when it happened and how it relates to the present moment. You're literally painting a timeline with your sentences.
Okay, I understand the theory, but, for many learners, that just sounds a bit academic. How does choosing, say, I ate instead of I've eaten, actually change the relationship I have with the listener right now?
That's a really crucial question. Let's break it down with the classic breakfast example. Everyone understands breakfast.
Okay, right.
If you say, I eat breakfast every day, that's the simple present tense. It defines a habit, an unchanging fact about your routine. It's steady, neutral ground.
Or habitual.
If you say, I am eating breakfast, present continuous, you are defining an action happening right now. It demands immediate attention, maybe implies you're busy.
Okay. But the difference between past simple, I ate breakfast, and present perfect, I have eaten breakfast, that's where the real subtlety comes in, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the tricky one. I ate breakfast is a completed action, probably sometime in the past, and the time isn't really relevant anymore. It's done. It's gone.
Finished.
But if you say, I have eaten breakfast, the grammar itself signals that the eating happened sometime before now, but the result is still important in the present.
The result matters now.
Yes. The result might be, so I'm not hungry now, or maybe, so I have the energy to start this meeting. The use of have connects that past action directly to your current state.
Okay, so if I walk into the office late and I say, I missed the bus, that's just a simple past fact.
It
happened.
Done.
But if I say, I have missed the bus, I'm signaling that the immediate relevance is, I'm still waiting for the next one, or that's why I'm late right now.
You've absolutely got it. The grammar adds that necessary layer of context, that feeling, and this connection, it extends beyond just time to emotional awareness and tone. Grammar conveys feeling.
How so?
Well, think about the tone. If you say, I finished my work, using the present perfect, it sounds confident, complete. The result is relevant. Now, maybe it signals you're ready for the next task.
Okay, confident, done.
Compare that to the past continuous. I was finishing my work when the phone rang.
Yeah, that instantly makes you sound busy, maybe a bit stressed, perhaps even overwhelmed because you were interrupted right in the middle of it.
Exactly. Grammar lets you inject that subtle emotional state without having to explicitly say, I was feeling stressed because I was interrupted. It's coded in.
Wow. Okay.
And this is where we need to connect the dots in section 3. Real-world meaning shifts and context. This stuff isn't for tests. It's for real-life communication.
Right. Let's apply this to a professional scenario then. Maybe checking in on a project. We can use, 3 different grammatical moods for the phrase, finish the report, and each one sets a completely different expectation for your supervisor, right?
Spot on. Let's run through that report example. If you use the past simple, I finished the report yesterday.
Okay, done deal. Tied to yesterday.
Exactly. You've tied it to a specific completed time. The task is definitively done. No ambiguity.
Now, change that to present perfect. I've finished the report.
Okay. Now you've just completed it, maybe moments ago, and the grammar tells the listener the result is relevant now. Perhaps it's ready for printing or ready for discussion immediately. You are signaling present availability, present relevance.
The report exists now as a finished thing.
Precisely. And critically, if you use the present continuous, I'm finishing the report.
Big difference.
Huge difference. That clearly signals you are still actively working on it. It's a live action happening now. If I tell my supervisor I'm finishing, I am setting a very, very different expectation than if I say I finished.
Yeah, that one tense choice could be the difference between getting a quick coffee break and being chased down the hall for the final draft.
Absolutely. It manages expectations.
The sources really drove home an essential rule when we talk about this real-world fluency. Do not translate from your native language. It's obvious, but...
It's the root of so many problems. English operates on its own patterns of meaning and function, not just word-for-word matching. Translation is often the source of that word order headache.
Oh yeah, the adverb thing.
Absolutely. This is so common with adverbs of frequency, like always or often. In many languages, you might translate directly, maybe putting the adverb first or last, leading to a sentence like, always I go to work early. Or, I go to work early, always.
That sounds a bit off, yeah.
It does. But natural, fluent English usually requires that adverb to go before the main verb. So the correct fluent sentence is, I always go to work early.
It just flows better.
That tiny shift creates rhythm. English word order relies heavily on that subject-verb-object pattern generally, and inserting the adverb there reinforces that natural rhythm. Once you kind of feel where these words naturally fall, your English instantly sounds smoother, more authoritative.
And speaking of tiny words that carry, well, big burdens, let's move to section 4. Precision and clarity. This is where we focus on articles. A, an, and the. Learners often find this rule system so frustratingly arbitrary.
It really feels arbitrary, doesn't it? Until you realize their function is all about hyper-precision. Articles are the mechanism English uses to establish shared context between speaker and listener.
Shared context. Okay.
The core rule is actually simple, yet really powerful. The E is for something specific, one particular thing that both the speaker and listener already know about or can identify.
Right, the specific one. And A or an is for something general. It's new information you're introducing or just one of many possible things. Any old one.
Exactly. Let's use an example of what happens if you mix them up. Imagine you know your neighbor has a specific Great Dane, a really big dog. Okay. If you call them up and say, hey, I saw the dog in the park, they know exactly which dog you mean. Their specific, huge Great Dane, context established.
Right, their dog.
But if you call and say, I saw a dog in the park, you are simply introducing the existence of some random canine. Any dog.
Could be a poodle.
Could be a poodle. If they then rush out looking frantically for their specific Great Dane, but you just meant some random poodle you saw, well, you've caused unnecessary panic.
Huh. Yeah, okay, point taken. Precision matters.
It really does. The choice of article changes the shared understanding instantly. It determines whether you're talking about something generic or something very specific. Mastery of these tiny words is actually crucial for achieving high levels of communication precision. It's not trivial.
Okay, so if grammar is the frame, the flow, and the precision tool, how do we actually master it without falling back into those, painful rote memorization sessions we all hated?
Right.
That brings us to section 5, the formula for mastery.
Okay, so we have 2 core techniques here based on the research. Option 1, speak by sense.
Speak by sense.
Yeah. Instead of just memorizing abstract rules, you need to try and feel the inherent logic behind the grammar. Stop thinking of it as just a list of rules and start thinking of it as a logical system for expressing different meanings.
Can you give us an example of how to speak by sense?
Sure. Take the word since. Lots of learners just memorize since goes with the present perfect tense rule learned.
I remember that rule.
Right. But instead, try to feel the meaning of since. What does it do? It shows the starting point of something. Something that continues right up to the present moment.
Continuity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I want to say I started living here in 2010 and I still live here now, the moment I use since 2010, my brain requires a structure that shows that continuity. The present perfect, I have lived, is the structure that naturally supports that ongoing meaning, connecting past, start, present reality.
That's brilliant because your brain then links the grammatical structure directly to the meaning you want to convey, which is really what native fluency is all about, that unconscious automatic application.
Spot on.
So if option 1 is speaking by sense, what's the actual practical, the secret formula for application?
Okay, the secret formula, kind of pulled together from the best learning strategies, is basically 3 steps. Listen plus notice plus use.
Listen, notice, use. Okay, step 1, listen, but listen actively.
Yeah.
How does grammar actually sound in real speech? Watch movies, listen to conversations, listen to Well, this deep dive?
Yeah, don't just hear the words, hear the patterns, the structures underneath.
Okay, so hear the patterns. Step 2. Notice those patterns.
Yeah.
Actively observe the scaffolding. When people describe a hypothetical situation, do they tend to use will or would? When they talk about a recent event that's still relevant, do they use had or have? You're kind of looking for the skeleton underneath the conversation.
Exactly. You become a grammar detective in everyday life.
And the final, absolutely critical step.
Yeah.
Use those patterns immediately in your own sentences. You have to move the structure from abstract knowledge into actual muscle memory. You need to generate sentences out loud, not just writing them down, that incorporate the pattern you just noticed. Make it active.
This is where we really have to emphasize the golden rule. Practice small, but practice every single day. Consistency absolutely beats those long, exhausting study hours crammed in once a week.
Right. No need for 3 hours on a Saturday.
No. You need maybe 15 focused minutes daily of listening, noticing, and then immediately trying to incorporate that one pattern you focused on into, say, 3 original sentences out loud.
Make it a habit.
Exactly. Grammar isn't knowledge you just possess in your head. It's a habit you build through consistent action.
Okay. This deep dive has, I think, really shown us that grammar is definitely not the enemy of fluency. It's actually the structure that allows you to express complex, nuanced ideas clearly and connect with real confidence.
Yeah, precisely. Once you stop treating grammar like some kind of quiz you might fail and start seeing it as the flow, the feeling, the indispensable tool for precise communication, English stops feeling so difficult and starts feeling much more natural.
It becomes part of you, not something outside you. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. Grammar adds feeling and tone to communication. We saw that. So next time you use a past tense, maybe pause for just a second and ask yourself, are you just describing a finished action from the past? Or are you strategically signaling to the listener that the result of that action is completely irrelevant to the present moment? That subtle difference in relevance, that's the ultimate power of grammar. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're grabbing some serious gear and really drilling down into something fundamental for English fluency. Vocabulary. For so many learners, it's not really a tool, is it? It feels more like this, overwhelming, endless mountain they're just constantly trying to climb.
And that feeling, that sort of constant trying to consume more and more, the info overload, that's exactly what we want to tackle today. Looking at the sources you sent over, we found fluency is often, misunderstood. It's not just about passive recognition, how many words you can read. It's really about activation.
Activation, okay.
Yeah, how many words can you pull out instantly, confidently, and importantly, effectively when you're actually speaking?
That's the goal then.
Yeah.
That's our mission for this deep dive, moving you past that sort of textbook test feeling.
Exactly.
And into real communicative power. We want to show you how to turn those words you collect into things you can actually deploy.
Make vocabulary functional, not just a list to check off.
Yeah, a tool.
But that transition, from passively knowing a word to actively using it, that's where most learners seem to stumble.
And that stumble, I bet it comes from that classic mistake, right? Trying to cram in, 20, 30 new words every single day?
Oh, absolutely. That's the big one.
The list maker's nightmare.
Yeah.
You spend an hour, feel super productive writing them all down, and then 2 days later, you're lucky if you remember 3 of them because your brain just went, nope, too much noise.
It's not a failure of effort, though. It's really a failure of strategy, of how our brains work.
Okay.
The brain's selective. If you just flood it with info without using it right away, in context, it basically just trashes it.
Makes sense.
So the sources suggest a pretty radical shift. Focus on precision, not just quantity. Learn, say, 5 useful words a day.
5, okay.
And this is the really crucial part, use each of those 5 words at least 3 times in real sentences that you create.
5 words. That almost feels too easy. I know people who push for 10, 15 thinking that's faster progress. Are we saying maybe slow down?
Well, we're aiming for something more powerful than just speed. We're aiming for permanence.
Okay.
Our sources suggest 5 is kind of the cognitive sweet spot. It's about the right amount of new language info your short-term memory can handle and actually file away into long-term memory.
Let me use it.
Right, within that 24-hour cycle through deliberate use. If you try forcing 10, maybe only 2 actually stick, and the other 8 just clutter things up temporarily.
So 5 words, use 3 times each. That helps lock all 5 in.
That's the idea, learning smarter, not just harder.
Okay, that clicks. Now let's talk about how these activated words add, texture and personality, because English words aren't neutral, are they?
Not at all. They carry emotional weight, context.
It
It goes way beyond just the dictionary definition. This is the difference between just describing something and really evoking a feeling.
Like the classic example, home versus house. House is just factual, a building.
Correct, purely descriptive. But home comes with a whole emotional package.
Safety, comfort, nostalgia maybe?
All of that. Belonging. If you text someone, "I'm heading to my house," that's just logistics.
Right.
But if you say, "I can't wait to get home," you're communicating something deeper, an emotional need for comfort, relief. That single word choice adds layers.
I remember trying to translate house party once and inviting someone to an empty building party. They were so confused.
Yeah, that highlights it perfectly.
It really hit me then. Home is almost like a verb sometimes, a feeling as much as a place.
And that emotional weight connects directly to managing tone. You're conveying emotion. You also need to think about formality. Learners often trip up here because English has these parallel vocabularies.
You mean like one set for the boardroom, another for the coffee shop?
Exactly. And using the wrong one, even with perfect grammar, just sounds off.
Like wearing a tuxedo to the beach, you said.
Precisely. Let's look at some common pairs learners mix up. We mentioned buy versus purchase, or help versus assist.
Right. And there's ask versus request, need versus require, tell versus inform. The word you pick totally changes the attitude, doesn't it?
Completely. You inform a large group officially, but you tell your friend about your weekend.
Okay. And you'd require documents in a formal email to a supplier. But you just need advice from a friend and asking the waiter to request more coffee.
Sounds robotic, right? You just ask. Understanding that context, that's what gives your English real polish. Attitude, even.
Yeah, that deep understanding is the shortcut to sounding more natural, definitely. Okay, so how do we organize all this? Random lists are exhausting. Strategy one you mentioned is group and grow, thematic learning.
Exactly. Your brain loves connections. Random disconnected facts, it doesn't know where to file them. But group words by theme, you're instantly creating a memory web.
So instead of 5 random adjectives, if I'm learning about travel, I'd group journey, trip, adventure, destination, explore together.
Perfect. They reinforce each other. And this scales up beautifully for specific needs.
Like for business.
Yeah, you'd focus on negotiate, contract, deadline, proposal. Or for academic stuff, maybe analyze, evaluate, demonstrate, conclude.
Got it. Grouping builds those connections almost automatically. Less overwhelming.
Definitely. Now, the next strategy, and this is where it stops being just about text on a page, visual association.
Ah, right. The sources really emphasize this. Don't just read the word, you have to actively see it.
Yes. Connect the sound and meaning to a vivid mental image, not just a translation in your head. Take the word messy.
Okay.
Don't just write the definition. Close your eyes. Really picture it the most detailed, chaotic desk you can imagine. Papers everywhere, coffee cups, tangled cable.
Like snakes, yeah. 3 coffee stains on that important report.
Exactly, that specific vivid image.
It's interesting because it sort of bypasses the purely intellectual part of learning. It's more like how kids learn, isn't it? Through images and feelings.
It is, and when your brain connects that abstract word messy with that concrete picture of spilled coffee and papers, boom, the retention is much faster, much longer lasting.
Okay, so we've covered activating words, getting the context right, grouping them smartly. But how do we make sure they don't just, fade away after a week? Let's talk retention. You mentioned a cycle, the retention loop.
Yeah, a simple cycle to make things stick long term.
Let's break that down because consistency is key here, right?
Yeah.
It starts with read, then record,
Yeah.
and ends with repeat.
Exactly. Step 1, read. Become an active word hunter. When you're reading an article, watching something with subtitles, you actively notice words or phrases, things that seem interesting, useful, maybe just a bit outside your comfort zone.
Okay, actively hunting. Then step 2 is record. But not just a word list, right? Is this where we capture the feeling, the context, the whole phrase?
Precisely. You jot down the entire phrase the word showed up in. That captures the nuance, which leads directly to step 3, repeat.
And repeat means deliberately using that word yourself.
Yes. Moving that recorded word or phrase into your own sentences, your daily conversations, even if you have to force it a bit at first.
That deliberate repetition, using it in my context, that's the signal the brain needs. Like shouting, hey, this one's important for survival.
You got it. That's what shifts it from temporary filing to permanent storage in your active vocabulary.
Got crucial steps. Now let's pivot slightly. Something that can undermine all this effort. Learning word only visually, just from reading.
Ah, yes. Big problem. If you only know how a word looks, you might not recognize it when a native speaker says it quickly in conversation.
That's a huge disconnect, isn't it? Between reading fluency and listening fluency. You know the spelling, but the sound pattern. It's like meeting a stranger.
Which is exactly why you must learn the word stress along with the meaning.
Word stress, okay.
Take a common verb like develop. Many learners might guess the stress is on the first syllable, develop,
Right.
but it's actually on the second, deelp. If you're listening for the wrong pattern, you'll just miss the word completely when someone says it correctly.
So learning the sound, the stress, it directly improves your listening.
Wow. Absolutely. Learning the correct sound and stress pattern is critical for recognition.
That link between vocab, pronunciation, listening, it's unbreakable, really. Strengthening one boosts the others, which brings us back to maybe the best method, real context learning. Ditch the lists altogether.
Pretty much. If you hear a cool phrase in a song or a tense line in a movie, like, we need to hit the deadline,
Okay.
you note down deadline, look it up quickly, and then instantly create your own sentence using it. Okay, I have my own internal deadline for finishing this report.
And doing it that way builds emotional memory. Is that the term?
That's a great way to put it. You remember the feeling of the song, the tension in the movie scene, the urgency tied to that phrase. That emotional hook is so much stronger than just dry memorization from a list.
Makes total sense.
Okay.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the secret sauce for really smooth English collocations.
Ah, yes. Word partners. The words that just naturally hang out together in English. Using these correctly is the fastest way to stop sounding, well, fluent but translated, and start sounding natural.
It's the difference between effortful and effortless, isn't it? Like, we don't say do a decision.
No, we make a decision. And coffee is strong coffee.
Not powerful coffee, even though powerful kind of makes logical sense.
Exactly. These pairs aren't always logical, they're just conventional, what native speakers naturally say. Other key ones: take a shower, catch a cold, keep a promise.
Learning those pairs as single chunks,
Yeah,
it stops that internal translation pause, right?
it does. Your English starts to flow much more automatically. Smoother.
Okay, so we've hit activation, context, connection through grouping and visuals, retention, sound, and now this natural flow with collocations. If we boil down the core takeaway from this whole deep dive, it's really not about the sheer quantity of words you try to stuff in your head.
Not at all. It's all about connection. Connecting the word to its real meaning, its proper sound, its emotional weight, and its natural word buddies the collocations.
Right.
That whole web of connections is what transforms a word from something you just vaguely recognize into a tool you can actually use flexibly.
And that intentionality, being precise in your word choice, that's incredibly empowering, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When you consciously choose between house and home, or ask and request, knowing the difference, you're not just following English rules. You're actively shaping your own voice, your own message.
Well said. So maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. Vocabulary isn't just a pile of definitions. It's really a toolkit for precision. It lets you articulate exactly what's going on in your mind with the exact toner you intend. So choosing your words intentionally, it shapes not just how others hear you, but maybe even how you perceive the world yourself. It's a powerful tool for refining both your internal and external voice. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your sources and give you that shortcut to being instantly well-informed. So today, we're jumping into something pretty much every English learner runs into. You know, especially if you're good at reading, maybe great at writing emails, but then you listen to native speakers and it just sounds like they're talking at, I don't know, warp speed.
Oh, yeah. That's probably the number one frustration we hear about. And look, it makes total sense. You can know all the grammar rules, but real-world English, it's different. It just seems to kind of melt together.
Why is that, though? Why does it feel so different from the textbook?
Well, because it is different. Real English, the spoken stuff, it relies on connected words, sounds get reduced, squashed even, and there's a rhythm to it your ear probably isn't tuned into yet.
Okay, so not perfectly pronounced separate words.
Not at all. But the good news is this is absolutely trainable. Your ears can learn it.
Right. And I think that brings us to maybe the biggest mental shift you need to make, like the number one mistake, trying to understand every single word. Or worse, mentally translating each word as you hear it.
Exactly. Your brain just can't work that fast. I mean, think about it. If you're stuck on word 3, trying to figure it out, the rest of the sentence is long gone.
So what's the better way? The immediate fix.
You have to stop listening for individual words. Seriously. Start listening for the main idea, the overall flow, the patterns.
The gist of it.
Precisely. Get the main point, feel the rhythm. Once you train your brain to do that, it's amazing how it starts to automatically fill in the gaps. Your comprehension speed, it can really skyrocket.
That idea of flow, of rhythm, that's really central, isn't it? English being a stress-timed language.
Yeah, that's a key concept. We don't give equal time to every syllable. We stress the important words, the meaning words, and everything else kind of gets squeezed in between.
Okay, so like nouns, main verbs, adjectives, the words carrying the message.
Right. Those are the content words.
Yeah.
The stress, the clearer pronunciation.
Yeah.
But the other words,
The little ones, like to, a, is. Yeah.
those are the functional words, the grammar glue. And in fast speech, they get hammered. They often lose their clear vowel sound, reducing to just a quick sound, schwa, or sometimes they almost disappear.
Ah, okay. That explains so much. Like that classic example, what are you doing?
Yeah, you almost never hear it pronounced clearly like that, word by word.
It becomes,
What you doing?
yeah, maybe what you doing? What ya? See how what do you just blends into what ya?
And even the G in doing often drops off. Doing.
It's called elision, yeah. So if you're listening only for the perfect sounds, what and are and you, you'll miss it completely. You have to recognize the sound pattern whatya means what are you.
That pattern recognition is key, and it goes beyond the really common ones like gonna for going to or wanna for want to, right? Those are just the start.
Absolutely. Those are the basics. We need to talk about the more subtle shifts too, like assimilation.
Assimilation.
So
It's technical. It just means one sound changes a bit because of the sound right next to it. Makes it easier to say quickly. Think about, did you eat? When we say it fast, that eed sound at the end of did and the I sound at the beginning of you, they kind of merge.
And it sounds like,
Did ya eat? Did ya? That jizz sound, it's not sloppy. It's just efficient. Your ear needs to learn that did ya decodes back to did you.
got it. So first, understand the rhythm, the reductions, the sort of music of English. But then there's another layer. It's not just what is said, but how it's said. The tone, the emotion.
Exactly. This brings us to a different way of listening. We could call it maybe listening like a detective.
Ooh, I like that. Listening like a detective. So what are we detecting?
You're moving beyond just vocabulary. You're analyzing how the meaning is delivered. Pay attention to which words get stressed. Notice the pitch. Does it go up or down? Listen for the tone of voice. Even pauses are important.
Why did they emphasize that word? Why pause there?
Right. Those things carry huge amounts of meaning. Think about a simple sentence like, you're coming. Said flatly, it's a statement.
You're coming, fact.
But if the pitch goes up at the end, you're coming.
Now it's a question. Total change in meaning, same words, just the tone.
Precisely. Your ear understands that pitch change means it's a question. Even before your brain processes the grammar, the sound itself carries the meaning.
It's like understanding the intent behind the words.
That's a great way to put it. And it connects to emotion, too. Think about music. Why do songs stick in our head?
The melody, the rhythm.
Yes, and the emotion. The brain remembers rhythm, emotion, and meaning all bundled together. It actually helps memory.
So, like, listening to songs in English could actually help train your ear.
Definitely. Find some lyrics, maybe simple ones at first. Try to sing along. You're forcing your brain to engage with that rhythm and pitch. Yeah. It's actually really good practice and kind of fun, too.
Okay, this is all great theory. But people need practical steps. How do you actually train your ear day to day? Let's get into the techniques.
Right. Actionable stuff. And the best analogy I can think of is like training at the gym.
Okay, how so?
Well, you wouldn't walk in on day one and try to bench press 300 pounds, would you?
Definitely not.
You start lighter. You build up strength gradually. Same with listening. If you're just starting, find short, simple audio clips. Maybe even use subtitles in your own language first, just to get grounded.
Just to understand the context.
Exactly. Then, as you get better, switch to English subtitles. That connects the sounds you're hearing to the words on the screen.
And eventually.
Eventually, you turn the subtitles off completely. The key is gradual challenge. Pick stuff that pushes you a little, but doesn't totally overwhelm you.
Makes sense. Build that listening muscle slowly. Now, what about common mistakes people make when practicing?
Yes. The second big mistake, after trying to catch every word, is passive listening.
We're all guilty of this one, I think. Putting on a podcast or a movie in English, but in the background, while you're scrolling on your phone or cooking or cleaning.
Mm-hmm. And look, it feels productive, like you're getting exposure, but mostly your brain just treats it as background noise. It filters it out.
So it doesn't really help you improve much?
Not nearly as much as focused listening. Quality over quantity, always.
So what's the alternative? Deep listening.
Deep listening. That's the term. Instead of an hour of distracted background noise, give yourself just 5 or 10 minutes. But during that time, full focus, no multitasking, just you and the audio.
5 minutes of really paying attention beats an hour of having it on in the background.
Exponentially more effective. Seriously.
Okay, so in those focused 5-10 minutes, what should you be doing? Just listening?
Well, listening is the start, but active listening involves more. You can listen, pause, repeat phrases out loud, try to mimic the speaker.
And there's that technique, shadowing.
Yes, shadowing is probably one of the single best techniques out there.
Explain that again. What exactly is shadowing?
It's listening to the audio and speaking along with it almost simultaneously, like you're the speaker's echo, just slightly behind them.
So you're not just repeating after a pause, you're talking with them.
Exactly. And you're trying to copy everything, not just the words, but their rhythm, their pitch changes, their pauses, their intonation.
Why is that so powerful? It sounds like a speaking exercise.
It is partly speaking, but the real magic is for your ears and your brain. It forces you to sync up with the natural flow of spoken English. It bypasses that part of your brain that wants to analyze and translate everything word by word.
Ah, because you're too busy trying to keep up and match the sounds.
Precisely. You're focusing purely on the sounds and the rhythm. Your body, your mouth, your vocal cords are physically reinforcing the patterns for your brain.
That's how you really internalize those tricky reductions we talked about earlier. Like, give me another example, a more complex one maybe.
Okay, how about, I didn't mean to do that.
Right, grammatically clear, but how might it sound?
Often you'll hear something like, I didn't mean to do that. Notice the T sound in didn't might soften or disappear, and to becomes ta.
I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, much smoother, faster.
And when you practice shadowing that phrase, saying didn't mean ta, your brain starts to automatically connect that sound pattern to the meaning didn't mean to. No translation needed.
It just clicks. Or another one like, I could have done it earlier.
Yep. Often becomes, I could have done it earlier. Could have shrinks to coulda.
Coulda, okay.
Shadowing helps you recognize coulda instantly as could have without even thinking about it. The sound itself becomes the meaning.
That immediate recognition, that's the goal. Okay, so we've covered rhythm, reductions, tone, active listening, shadowing. What about the types of English we listen to?
Ah, crucial point. English isn't just one thing, is it? You need to expose your ears to variety. Expand that flexibility.
What do you mean by variety? Like accents?
Accents, definitely. But also formality. Think about how different a formal news report sounds compared to, say, a casual chat between friends on a vlog.
Total different worlds. Newsreader sounds super clear, maybe slower. Vlog might be fast, lots of slang, interruptions.
Exactly, and you need to be comfortable with both. That's where contrast listening comes in handy.
Contrast listening.
Yeah, try this as an exercise. Find 2 short clips, maybe just a couple of minutes each. One super formal, like that news report or a lecture. The other super informal, a vlog, reality TV, friends chatting.
Okay, got 2 clips. What now?
Listen to them back to back. And don't just listen for what they say. Listen for how. Compare the pace. Compare how clear the vowel sounds are. Notice where the stress falls. Are those little function words getting dropped in the casual clip?
Probably a lot more in the casual one.
For sure. Doing this exercise regularly trains your ear for the whole spectrum of spoken English. So you're ready for a formal job interview, but also for just shooting the breeze with colleagues.
Makes sense. Prepare for anything. And you mentioned accents earlier. How important is that? Should you just stick to one, like American or British?
Oh, please don't. That's a huge mistake if your goal is broader communication. If you only ever listen to standard American English, you'll be lost when you talk to someone from Scotland or Australia or India or Ireland.
The list goes on.
It really does. The world is full of diverse English accents. Each one has slightly different vowel sounds, maybe different rhythms or common expressions.
So the goal isn't to understand every accent perfectly.
Not necessarily master every accent, no. The goal is to develop ear flexibility. The more different accents you expose yourself to, even just brief clips regularly, the better your brain gets at picking out the core meaning, even if the sounds are a bit different from what you're used to.
So variety is key. Don't stay in one accent bubble.
Absolutely. Variety builds resilience in your listening skills.
And one final point before we summarize with a routine. What about repetition? If you listen to something and just don't get it, is it okay to listen again? Or is that like admitting defeat?
Oh, listen again. Absolutely. Repetition isn't failure. It's training. It is the work. If you didn't catch something the first time, listening again, focusing on a specific tricky part, maybe checking the subtitles after you've tried again. That's how you sharpen your focus.
That's the active part, right? Analyzing why you missed it.
Exactly. It's the difference between just letting it wash over you and actually digging in to understand. Every time you repeat and figure something out, you're strengthening that listening muscle.
Okay, fantastic. So let's pull all this together. We've talked about rhythm, reductions, tone, active listening, variety. How can someone put this into practice consistently? Maybe like a short daily routine.
Yeah, a simple, effective routine is the way to go. Consistency is everything. You don't need hours, just focused minutes. Let's outline a quick, maybe 10-minute daily workout for your ears.
Perfect. 10 minutes a day. What does it look like?
Okay, grab a short audio clip, like 1 to 3 minutes long, something interesting to you. Could be a podcast snippet, a news segment, part of a YouTube video.
Got my clip. Step 1.
Step 1, listen once, no subtitles at all, just listen. Your only goal here is to get the main idea. What's the topic? What's the general feeling or mood? Don't worry about understanding every word. If you miss half of it, that's fine for this step.
Okay, just the gist. Step 2.
Step 2, listen again, but this time, turn on the English subtitles. Now your goal is to catch things you missed. Notice specific words or phrases that are new to you. Pay attention to those reductions. See how going to looks on screen but sounds like gonna. Connect the sound to the text. Maybe jot down a couple of interesting things.
Connecting sound and spelling makes sense. Step 3.
Step 3. This is the crucial active part. Shadow the speaker. Play the clip, maybe sentence by sentence or phrase by phrase, and speak along with them. Echo them. Try to match their speed, their rhythm, their intonation.
Get your mouth and ears working together.
Exactly. Force that synchronization. Even if it feels weird at first, stick with it.
All right. And step 4.
Step 4. Quick review. Look at the notes you took, maybe that new word or that interesting phrase or how they stressed a particular word. Pick just one thing from your notes and make a conscious effort to use that one thing sometime that day. Maybe say it out loud to yourself, use it in a practice sentence, whatever. Just activate it.
So listen for gist, listen with subtitles for details, shadow for rhythm, review, and use one thing. That's it.
That's the core routine, just 10 minutes or so. But do it consistently, focus intensely during that time, and honestly, you will see significant improvement in your listening comprehension, probably faster than you think. Weeks, not months.
That's really encouraging. So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for someone who's feeling overwhelmed by fast English?
The biggest shift is realizing listening isn't passive. It's not just letting sound waves hit your ears. It's an active skill. It's creative in a way because your brain is constantly decoding, predicting, filling gaps.
And it's trainable.
Highly trainable.
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice actively focusing on patterns, rhythm, tone, those sound changes, the more automatic that decoding process becomes. Your brain learns the shortcuts. It gets faster, more efficient. Understanding starts to feel effortless.
Which leads us to that ultimate goal, right? The point we want you, the listener, to reach with this kind of training. It's that moment when you stop trying to translate English in your head. You just hear it, and you understand it. Instantly, naturally, confidently.
Exactly. The sound goes in, the meaning registers.
Yeah.
No middle step.
And that moment, it really is closer than you probably think.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something huge, really a key cognitive barrier, stopping advanced English learners from hitting full fluency. It's the way they read. For so many of you, reading still feels like, well, basically an active translation.
And that's exactly the problem we want to help solve today. You see, fluent readers, when they're looking at an article or an email, even a complex report, they are not translating words back into their own language.
Okay, so what are they doing then?
They're doing like 3 things at once. They feel the rhythm, the sentence structure. They pull meaning instantly from the context around the words. And crucially, they are thinking in English while they read the text.
Right, that little voice in your head, the internal translator.
Yeah.
The one turning English into your native language. That's the roadblock.
Precisely.
It keeps you stuck, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That slow, word-by-word decoding.
Yeah, it's painful.
So this deep dive is meant to be your shortcut. We're going to give you practical techniques to really shift your reading, move it from, a bit of a slog to fast, conceptual, really natural comprehension.
And the main mindset shift, the absolute core idea you need to embrace is this. Reading is about getting the message.
The concept.
Yes, the concept. Not about knowing every single word like a walking dictionary.
Yep.
The moment you decide consciously to stop leaning on that internal translation habit, that's when you start actually processing and absorbing English directly.
Okay, let's unpack that. How do we break this translation habit? Because it feels automatic almost. Why does the brain even do it?
Well, you hit on it. It's often a learned coping mechanism, isn't it? It's the brain looking for safety when it hits something unfamiliar, something ambiguous.
Okay, so panic sets in.
Kind of, yeah. The moment your eye lands on a new word, that immediate reaction, the one you've learned, is often like, oh, quick, grab the dictionary, or hit pause mentally to translate.
Right.
So our first strategy is about replacing that panic with, let's say, curiosity. You've got to train your brain to guess the meaning using the context.
Okay, but hold on. If I'm reading something important, like a work email or, a contract, surely I need to know every word. Isn't guessing a bit risky? Could lead to big mistakes.
That's a fair question, a very valid concern. But think about it like this. Even if you do look up a word, the dictionary definition itself, it still needs context to make real sense.
True.
Let's take a simple example, maybe from something we read. Say you read, "The executive was summarily dismissed after the audit results were made public." Okay, maybe you don't know summarily.
Yeah, that's a bit tricky.
But you probably know executive dismissed, audit public. So if someone gets dismissed right after an audit, what does summarily likely mean?
Like quickly, without much fuss.
Exactly. Quickly, immediately, maybe without a long formal process. Your brain figured out the whole consequence without actually stopping to translate or look up that specific word.
I see.
And doing this regularly. It shifts your brain from relying on the dictionary to actively solving a puzzle, and that accelerates your instant understanding.
Okay, that makes sense. So once you get good at context guessing, you say we can move to something you call reading like a detective. What's that about?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. You move beyond just the surface words to uncovering the writer's hidden intent, their tone, maybe even the power dynamic.
So asking, what are they really trying to say here?
Precisely. Or why did they pick this word, not another one? This is super critical, especially in professional settings. If you only get the dictionary meaning, you often miss the real professional or emotional truth behind the words.
Okay, give us a concrete example. How does a phrase change meaning based on intent?
Okay, we need to address this gap in communication immediately. Now, if you just translate that, it sounds like a neutral suggestion for a meeting. Right?
Yeah, seems straightforward.
But depending on who wrote it and the situation, it could actually be quite passive-aggressive. It might mean, you seriously messed up by not telling me something.
Wow.
That word gap wasn't chosen randomly. It's often picked specifically to imply a failure or a mistake.
That's fascinating. So real understanding comes from reading between the lines, sensing maybe the hierarchy or the stress level behind the text.
Exactly right. And that leads us straight into the next big strategy. Actively thinking in English while you read.
Okay, the big one.
Yeah. To get rid of that internal translation voice, we have to replace it with something else. And that something else is visualization.
How do you actually force your brain to switch, going from translating words to visualizing concepts? That sounds like quite a mental effort.
It is a deliberate shift, definitely. It takes conscious effort at first, but it's trainable. When you read a concept, an idea, you have to try and process it visually, maybe even emotionally. Don't let the word even touch your native language in your head.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you read, "She turned down the proposal," don't translate, turn down.
Right.
Instantly picture the action. Maybe someone politely refusing with a handshake or just shaking their head, no.
So we're basically building mental concept maps instead of just relying on vocabulary lists.
You got it. That forces the brain to process the English idea directly.
You're bypassing the translation detour.
And heading straight for the conceptual destination.
Okay, so we talked about fixing the mental processing side. But what about the physical act of reading? How do we stop our eyes crawling across the page word by word? Nobody wants to spend an hour on a 3-page PDF.
Yeah, good point. This is where we need a more mechanical strategy. It's often called chunk reading.
Chunk reading.
Yeah. Most slow readers, their eyes fixate on every single word they read. The best way to learn English. But a fluent reader, they see those 6 words as maybe 2 or 3 conceptual units.
Okay, so how do I start doing that? Like tonight, my eyes have been reading word by word for decades. How do I physically retrain them to take in bigger chunks?
It needs to be mechanical at first, like you said. Deliberately focus your eyes on small groups, maybe just 2 or 3 words to start. Read the best way as one visual unit, then to learn English is the next. A useful little trick is to use your finger, or even a pen, tracing under the text. But instead of moving smoothly, move it in short, quick jumps.
Ah, okay, forcing the eyes to jump in chunks.
Right. It shifts your brain's recognition pattern from isolated words to what linguists call lexical units. The common phrases themselves become single pieces of information.
Like at the end of the day, or in order to achieve.
Exactly, those kinds of things. The rationale here is powerful. When you chunk, your brain just recognizes these common phrases instantly. It speeds up processing dramatically.
Right.
But remember, the focus initially needs to be on comprehension. Get the meaning first, the speed. That'll increase naturally as your brain gets better and faster at recognizing these chunks. It's a bit like learning to drive focus on control first, speed comes later.
Okay, this is really becoming actionable now. Let's take these strategies, context guessing, detective reading, thinking in English, chunking, and apply them. Let's look at some real-world situations where time and accuracy really matter.
Good idea.
How about meeting minutes, complex emails, and those dense presentation slides?
Perfect examples. Okay, meeting notes or official reports. Your goal here needs to be becoming a super efficient keyword hunter.
Keyword hunter. Okay.
You have to learn to mentally discard the long descriptive sentences, the fluff and zero right in on the action verbs, the words that show commitment, accountability, what actually happened or needs to happen.
So what are those keywords, the verbs we should be scanning for?
Look for words like decide, approve, schedule, follow-up, mandate, reject, things like that.
Gotcha.
So, if the minutes say, the team comprehensively debated the proposal regarding Q3 targets and later collectively decided to postpone the final vote until Friday's executive session. What do you pull out?
Decided to postpone in Friday.
Exactly. The detailed description of the debate. That's mostly noise for quick comprehension. You need the outcome and the timeline.
Right, filtering for accountability. Okay, now emails. They can be a total minefield of idioms and polite phrasing. I often find the politeness hides the real urgency.
Oh, absolutely. You are spot on there. Recognizing those polite expressions instantly is a huge time saver and helps avoid, professional misunderstandings. Take the classic, I'm just checking in. A word-by-word translator might just think, oh, how friendly.
Yeah.
But a fluent reader, they instantly recognize that means, hey, please reply soon, I'm waiting on you, and I'm trying not to sound pushy.
Right. Or what about that slightly more formal one, but just as demanding, please advise.
Perfect example again. That phrase is a very polite, almost, subservient way of saying, tell me what I need to do.
Okay.
If you process that instantly, you know you need to provide a clear direction or a recommendation, not just waffle. Fluent email reading is often about decoding the power dynamics hidden under the surface politeness.
Okay, and the third one? Presentations. Slides. The text is often super short, but incredibly dense with meaning. How does conceptual reading work there?
With slides, active reading requires intense visualization. If a slide just has bullet points like streamlining Q3 operations and expand global reach, you shouldn't be translating streamlining or expand. You should instantly start visualizing the process. What does streamlining mean here? Removing steps. Closing offices. What does expanding global reach look like? New branches. Bigger online presence.
You connect the bullet points to the underlying strategy in your head.
Exactly. You build a mental picture, that mental connection, seeing the strategy unfold, that's the replacement for translation.
This leads us perfectly into building a daily routine, doesn't it? Because to make this kind of fluent reading permanent, it has to become a habit.
Absolutely. The process, you don't need to take hours every day, but it does need to be consistent and deliberate. We've kind of put together a simple routine, and the focus is always on using English to process English.
Okay, so if I want to start this tomorrow morning, make it a daily habit, what's the first simplest step?
Okay, start by picking a short text. Could be anything, a news article, a short story, maybe even a blog post you find interesting.
Right.
Then, before you actually read it word for word, preview it. Look at the title, any subtitles, pictures, captions. Just try to guess the topic and maybe the main point the author is making.
Okay, so priming the brain.
Exactly. Then, step 2. Skim it once, quickly. Just go for the main idea, the overall gist, the tone. Don't stop for words you don't know yet.
Just get the flow.
Then you do a more targeted scan. Go back through, but this time look specifically for details, names, dates, key actions, maybe the main argument supporting the gist you got. You're looking for the structure and the substance now.
Okay, preview, skim, scan. Then what?
Then you interact with it. Maybe highlight or jot down key phrases, especially those idioms, business expressions, or those chunks we talked about that you want to remember and maybe use yourself.
Active engagement.
Right. And the final step, which is crucial, summarize the text, but do it entirely in your own words. And this is the key part. Do it in English.
Okay. No switching back to native language for the summary.
No. This confirms you really understood the concept without falling back on translation as a safety net.
Okay, let's run through a quick example again, focusing on speed and that routine, that short professional email we used earlier. Hi, Sarah. Hope this finds you well. Just following up on the proposal we discussed last week, could you please share your feedback by Thursday? Best, Daniel. How does a fluent reader process that language using these steps?
Instantly. Okay, preview. It's an email from Daniel to Sarah. Skim. Subject probably says proposal feedback or something. Okay, it's a follow-up about feedback needed by Thursday. Scan. Key elements. Following up, proposal, feedback by Thursday.
Highlighting, maybe just following up and by Thursday as key phrases.
Exactly. Then summarize in English mentally. Daniel needs my feedback on the proposal by Thursday. Gentle reminder.
The whole thing, processed in maybe 3 seconds, tone understood formal but urgent, action item clear, no translation needed.
That's the goal. And before we wrap up with final thoughts, here's a really powerful bonus tip. Try reading aloud daily.
Read aloud, even if I'm alone.
Yes, even for just 5 minutes. This physical act connects your eyes, your mouth, and your brain in a different way. It forces you to internalize the correct sentence rhythm, the pauses, the pronunciation. It actually improves not just your reading comprehension over time, but your speaking fluency too.
Interesting connection. Okay, and to round out the practical advice, let's quickly list the common mistakes. The things we need to consciously avoid if we want to achieve and maintain this reading flow.
Right. First, probably the biggest one. Don't stop and agonize over every single unknown word. Let it go on the first pass. Flow matters more than 100% understanding initially.
Okay.
Second, don't grab the dictionary too early. Always try to guess from context first, maybe even second. Only look it up if you absolutely have to, maybe after reading the whole piece.
Third.
Don't skip the summarizing step. That reflection, putting it in your own words, that's how you build the mental scaffolding to remember it.
Makes sense. Fourth.
Never ignore the tone or emotion. That's often where the real message is hidden, especially in emails or fiction.
And finally.
If you catch yourself mentally translating and you will at first consciously stop, just pause, take a breath, and try to visualize the concept instead. Force the switch.
Okay, good list. So bringing this all together.
Yeah, if we connect it all back to the big picture, the transformation we're really aiming for here is about flow. It's not just about reading faster, although that happens.
Right.
When you finally manage to cut the cord with that internal translator, your reading naturally gets faster, yes, but your mental processing of English speeds up too, and that feeds directly into thinking more fluently and speaking more fluently as well. It's all connected.
So the eventual goal for you, the listener, is really to reach that point where reading English just feels effortless.
Yeah.
Where your mind and the text are just moving together in sync and you almost don't even notice the language itself anymore.
And that synchronization, that feeling of effortless processing, that's the threshold. That's when you truly start thinking in the structure and the rhythm of a native English speaker. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Okay, let's jump right in. We're tackling something that honestly trips up so many people in the professional world. It's this gap, right, between how confident you might feel speaking English and then, well, how clear your writing actually comes across. You know what I mean? Yeah. You handle meetings, calls, fine. But then you sit down to write something important, maybe an email to an investor, a technical report, even just a thoughtful post online, and suddenly the words feel clunky.
Yeah, they're either too simple or they just ramble on forever, getting confusing, and they just don't quite sound like you, like the expert you are in person.
That gap is such a huge stumbling block. And it's exactly why we wanted to do this deep dive. Writing, I mean, it's the skill that really locks in clarity and precision. And with that comes confidence, right? This isn't just about fiddling with grammar. It's about truly mastering how you express your thoughts clearly, naturally, precisely. When you get that structure down, it honestly transforms how you communicate. In big business deals, sure, but also just in everyday stuff.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got a lot of great material here based on mastering professional English writing and tone. We're really looking for those practical, repeatable principles, things you can actually use. So first things first, before you even type a word, the sources really stress this.
Yeah.
Stop. Ask yourself, what's the actual purpose here? What's the goal? Are you just informing people about something, trying to persuade a client, or maybe just building a connection with a teammate?
Exactly. Because that purpose immediately shapes your tone. It has to.
Yeah.
Using the exact same style for everything. That's probably the #1 mistake we see. You know, if you're writing, say, a formal financial report, you need that precise, formal tone. But if you're just setting up lunch with a colleague, totally different.
Yeah.
Friendly, casual is fine.
It's like that analogy from the source material, choosing the right outfit for the right occasion. It's perfect. The core message, the info might be the same, but how you deliver it, the tone that has to change. It depends completely on the situation, the audience. Getting that right from the start, that awareness, it just sets you up so much better professionally.
Okay, so once we know the why, the next big question is how. How does this play out in those specific, often high-stakes situations? Let's start with meetings, writing notes, summaries, minutes. Here, clarity and efficiency are everything, non-negotiable. Structure is key. We should be leaning heavily on action verbs, keeping sentences short, using clear bullet points, make it scannable.
Yeah, and the difference is really noticeable, isn't it? Professionalism often comes across as efficiency, like compare something punchy and effective. Sarah will prepare the new report, or even just project update completed. Compare that to the kind of rambling stuff you sometimes see. We have discussed the report that Sarah will be making, which will be presented next week after completing the final changes. Phew, it's just exhausting to read.
It really is. When you make the reader work that hard just to figure out what you mean, you're increasing their cognitive load. It makes the whole message feel, I don't know, heavier, less authoritative, keep it clean, keep it organized. That projects efficiency.
Okay, moving on to maybe the most common battleground. Emails. This is where that tone test really happens. You got to be polite, but also confident. That's a tricky balance sometimes. The sources point out two big pitfalls. Being too direct, which, can just sound rude, or going way overboard with formality, sounding like a robot.
Right. And that middle ground, that's where professional success really lies. If you just fire off, send the file now to a colleague, well, that's pretty abrasive. But then again, writing something like, I hereby request you to kindly forward the mentioned document. I mean, you sound completely out of touch. The sweet spot, the professional standard is usually something like, could you please share the file when you get a moment? Polite, clear, confident.
Okay, but I have to ask this. What if you're in a work culture that really, really values speed? Like just get it done, cut the fluff. Aren't you risking sounding a bit slow or maybe hesitant if you always stick to that super polite phrasing?
That's a really great question, actually, because context does always matter. You're right. However, what the sources really emphasize is that the polite structure is usually the safest bet. It minimizes risk. Sure, maybe one super blunt colleague is fine with send the file, but you might accidentally offend someone else with that approach. Whereas the standard polite way, could you please? It works pretty much universally. Structure is kind of your safety net there. So yeah, stick to that basic structure. Greeting, maybe a quick opening line, state your purpose clearly, brief details, a simple closing like thanks for your time, and your signature.
That makes sense. Default to politeness to manage the risk. Got it. Okay, last context. Presentations. Slide scripts. Here the rule seems to be less is more. Use strong key phrases on your slides, right? Not dense paragraphs. Think like expanding market reach or customer experience improvement.
Absolutely. And this is crucial for the script too. Keep the language active and positive. It just projects more accountability, more confidence. So instead of that classic passive dodge, mistakes were made, which always sounds a bit evasive. You should say something direct and confident, like we identified areas to improve. Active voice really does signal confidence.
All right, let's dig into the nitty-gritty now, sentence structure itself. One of the biggest mistakes, apparently, is just writing the way you speak, directly translating spoken English onto the page. Spoken language is naturally messy, isn't it? Full of fillers like, repetitions, pauses. When you just transcribe that, the writing feels disorganized, way too informal.
Yeah, written English needs that extra step of refinement. It needs structure. We have to consciously clean up those verbal tics. So, for instance, taking a rambling spoken phrase like, I think we can maybe meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
And tighten it up to the professional, concise version. Would tomorrow work for our meeting? That's the kind of clarity we're after.
Okay, and this leads to a really key insight from the deep dive. The surprising power of the short sentence. I think a lot of people, especially maybe non-native speakers, believe that longer, more complex sentences sound smarter or more academic. But the sources completely debunk that idea, don't they? Short, clear writing actually signals confidence and authority.
Absolutely. It's kind of a cognitive trick almost. Long, convoluted sentences, they increase the reader's mental workload. They had to spend energy just decoding the grammar before they even get to the meaning. But when you use short, clear, declarative sentences, you reduce that mental effort. And as a result, the reader subconsciously perceives the writer as more decisive, more authoritative, even more intelligent.
Wow, that's actually a really powerful shift in thinking. Like, compare that dense, maybe slightly defensive sentence. It has come to my attention that your recent submission was not in alignment with the requested guidelines. It sounds like someone's trying to soften bad news or something.
Exactly. It sounds weak. We can just cut straight to the professional standard. Your recent report doesn't follow the guidelines. It's short, it's direct, totally clear. No wasted words.
Okay, but what if you go too far the other way? What if your writing becomes all short sentences and starts to feel, choppy, like a list of commands? That's where connectors come in, right?
Yeah.
To create flow.
Precisely. You need those little bridges between ideas. Words like, however, therefore, in addition, although as a result. They make the logical relationship between your points immediately obvious. So take those two separate choppy ideas. The project was delayed. We learned valuable lessons. You instantly make it smoother, more sophisticated by connecting them. The project was delayed. However, we learned valuable lessons. It shows you're thinking logically. So how do you actually get better at this? The sources say the fastest, most effective way is, observation and immersion. You need to learn from good models. Read how others do it. We're not talking about just blindly copying templates, of course, but actively reading things like professional emails, good company reports, maybe high-quality news articles, and pay attention. Notice how they structure things, how they open, how they transition, how they close politely.
Right. It's about smarter practice, not just more practice. When you read, say, a BBC article, you're absorbing that formal clarity. If you look at a well-written company newsletter, you're seeing professional business tone in action. The idea isn't to just memorize phrases, but to internalize the patterns. How do skilled writers connect ideas and manage their tone? And then when it comes to your own practice, don't just aimlessly write more, write smarter. The sources strongly suggest things like dedicating just 10 minutes a day to writing something specific, maybe an internal memo draft or a quick summary of an article you read. But here's the crucial part. You have to read your own writing aloud.
Yes. Reading aloud is so powerful. Your ear catches things your eye misses when you're silently proofreading. You'll hear the awkward phrasing, the clunky rhythms, the bits that don't flow naturally. You experience it like your audience will. Another really great technique is rewriting your old stuff. Go back to an email or report you wrote 6 months ago. Try applying just one principle, like the short sentence rule. See how different it sounds. It's a fantastic way to see your own progress and diagnose weak spots.
Let's talk vocabulary for a second. Vocabulary upgrades. We're not talking about stuffing your writing with obscure fancy words just to impress, right? It's about precision. Can you give us maybe 3 quick examples? Professional word swaps that instantly lift the level.
Sure. Focus on those common, slightly weak verbs. So instead of just say, you could use mention, state, or explain, depending on the context, adds nuance. Instead of the generic good, try something more specific like effective, valuable, or impressive. And instead of show, maybe use demonstrate, present, or highlight. But, and this is key, always maintain balance. The goal is clear communication, not showing off your thesaurus skills. Use the precise word, not just the bigger word.
Okay, let's quickly run through that tone control idea again, using the example of asking for a file, just to make it super clear how you dial it up or down.
Right. So your standard polite tone, good for most colleagues. Could you please send me the file? Simple, effective. Then the more formal tone, maybe for someone senior or external. Kindly forward the document at your earliest convenience, a bit more distance. And then your everyday friendly tone, for your close team maybe. Hey, can you share the file when you're free? Much more casual. See the difference?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's hit that list of major mistakes, the things you absolutely want to avoid. The image killers, as the sources call them. Definitely. Number one, writing really long, rambling text without any clear structure, just a wall of words. Number two, using big, impressive-sounding words that don't actually add any real meaning, just fluff. Number three, blindly copying templates from the internet without understanding the tone or context they were meant for. Very risky. And the last couple, ignoring punctuation is there for clarity. And, of course, skipping the proofreading step. These things instantly undermine your credibility.
It really comes down to remembering that your writing is your image on the screen, isn't it? Every sentence reflects your clarity, your professionalism.
It absolutely does. And the best way to sound natural. Let your thoughts flow initially, sure, but then apply these tools. Apply structure. Aim for clarity. Imagine you're talking clearly and concisely to just one person. Then polish the language. Simplicity, honestly, it's the most powerful form of writing. #outro.
So bringing this all together, what's the main takeaway? We've hit on purpose dictating style, clarity trumping complexity, and structure being absolutely essential. It really sounds like every single email, every report, it's like a mini personal branding exercise.
It absolutely is. And you know what's really interesting? How mastering clear writing actually boosts your internal confidence too. When you know your message is sharp, concise, professional, well, you just feel more certain, don't you? Every piece of writing you refine is genuinely one more step towards really mastering English expression in a professional context.
Okay, so we want to leave you with a concrete challenge, something to try. Go find an old email or maybe a section of a report you wrote a few months back. Pick out one paragraph that feels a bit long or maybe slightly rambling. Now rewrite just that one paragraph using only the short sentence technique we talked about today. Really focus on making each sentence clear and direct. Then read the old version and the new version back to back. See how much sharper, clearer, and more confident that new message sounds. Give it a try. Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're learning English, you probably know the feeling we're diving into today. You've spent countless hours mastering the grammar. You've got thousands of vocabulary words stored away. But the second a real conversation starts, it just disappears.
Right.
You know the answer, you know the words, but your tongue feels tied, maybe your brain freezes up, and that perfect sentence you kind of planned just evaporates into, well, awkward silence.
Oh, yeah. It's the ultimate frustration for learners, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have the knowledge, but the delivery system, it just seems to break down right when you need it most.
Exactly. And our sources, they make it really clear. This isn't fundamentally a knowledge problem. It's more of a speed and connection problem. The bottleneck is that delay, that gap between your thought and the actual English word coming out.
Right. You end up trying to perform these complex mental gymnastics, translating everything in your head first, and that just absolutely kills any natural flow.
So we need to maybe stop thinking about fluency as, I don't know, how many big words you know.
Precisely. We need to recalibrate what fluency even means. Fundamentally, it's about sounding natural, sounding confident, and just being clear. The interesting thing about native speakers, their secret isn't memorizing the dictionary. It's that they pretty much bypass translation altogether.
They think in English.
They think in English, yeah. The ideas just flow out more smoothly.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty simple then. We're skipping the heavy textbook stuff. We're aiming to give you the blueprints to essentially reprogram your brain, build those direct connections. We're talking high-impact habits, routines, stuff that actually turns you from a hesitant speaker into someone genuinely confident. Let's kick off with the absolute foundation, because honestly, if you don't get this part right, nothing else really clicks into place. We call this the mindset shift, focusing on connection, not perfection.
This is hurdle number one, definitely. So many learners, maybe subconsciously, set the bar impossibly high. They think fluency means 100% perfect grammar all the time.
Which is just unrealistic.
Totally unrealistic. And it's the fastest way to guarantee you never speak. Because when you wait for perfection, you just freeze up.
I find this point so important. It's basically giving yourself permission to make mistakes. You need to understand that mistakes are normal. I mean, we make them every single day, and we're native speakers. The real goal is just easy understanding.
Right. And if you look at how that works practically, you don't always need textbook language. You need functional language.
Yeah.
Imagine you forget the word refrigerator, Do you stop talking? No way.
You find another way.
A fluent speaker just says something like, the thing that keeps food cold. Okay, maybe they use 3 extra words, but who cares? They kept the communication flowing, and the message got across perfectly. That's fluency in action.
So fluency actually starts the moment you decide that communication is more important than getting every single detail perfect. If you can start judging yourself so harshly, you instantly sound more confident. And confidence, well, that's like half the battle of fluency, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And that new confidence, it frees you up to explore the next powerful secret that native speakers rely on all the time, talking in phrases, or what the research calls chunking.
Ah, chunking. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. We spend so much time drilling single words, right? But native speakers, they rarely string single words together one by one like that. They use these small word groups.
Ready-made phrases, things that are processed by the brain almost like one single unit.
Explain that a bit more. How does that work in the brain?
Well, think of your brain like a computer processor. If you have to assemble a sentence, word by word. By word, you're taxing your grammar center constantly. You're calculating subject-verb agreement, tense, everything for each word. It's slow. But if you use a preset chunk of phrase you already know, you just fire off that single pre-programmed unit, it frees up mental bandwidth instantly.
Like a shortcut.
Exactly, a neuro-linguistic shortcut.
Can you give us some of those common examples from the source material? Because this really highlights the difference between sounding, I don't know, robotic versus human.
Sure, think about everyday stuff. Instead of carefully building, I will go to the office now,
Yeah.
you just use the natural chunk. I'm heading to the office. Much smoother.
Or maybe when someone asks you something you don't know, instead of that halting, I do not know, you just say.
No idea. Or maybe beats me. Quick, natural chunks.
Right. Or in a work context, instead of, can you help me with this task?
You'd probably say something more like, could you give me a hand? It's smoother, more polite, and it's a standard chunk.
So the advice here is actually pretty simple but effective.
Deceptively simple, yeah. Choose a basic topic, maybe your morning routine or work or travel. Write down maybe 10 phrases you genuinely use in that context. Then practice just those phrases daily until they become automatic.
And the key is you bypass translation because the whole phrase is the unit your brain retrieves, not individual words.
Exactly. That's the power of chunking.
Okay, so if chunking is about making these phrases automatic on the way out, the next logical step is applying that idea internally, right? How do we stop translating in our heads?
Ah, yes. This leads us to the critical habit of thinking in English. This is huge. Translation is probably the single biggest fluency killer out there. Your brain is trying to run 2 programs simultaneously, your native language thoughts and then the English output.
And that switching back and forth create that lag, that freeze.
Precisely. That's the drag that causes the problem.
But hang on, stopping translation, that sounds almost impossible, especially for a beginner. If I haven't built up enough English yet, how do I stop my brain defaulting back to what it knows best? What's a realistic first step?
You start small, really small, and you start visually connecting things you see directly to English words. Don't try to construct a complex philosophical argument in English in your head on day 1. When you wake up, just narrate your simple physical actions to yourself, silently in English.
So I look at my hand holding a mug and just think.
I'm holding a mug, look out the window, think it's raining outside. Just simple observations.
Okay, so it's about building that direct link, direct observation to English word, no middleman. I'm brushing my teeth, I'm getting ready for work, I'm making coffee, that kind of internal monologue.
That is the entire idea. The repetition of these seemingly mundane thoughts. That's the secret training. And here's the fantastic side effect. When your brain gets used to staying in English mode, your listening comprehension often dramatically improves too.
Ah, because you don't have that mental gear shift when someone starts speaking English to you.
Exactly. Your brain's already in the right place.
Okay, let's talk refinement then. A lot of people think fluency just means talking really fast, nonstop, but the source material corrects this pretty quickly, emphasizing the power of natural pauses. Silence isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all. Actually, a truly fluent speaker knows how to control time. Pauses are essential. They're breathing spaces for you and for your listener. They should be used strategically, to emphasize meaning or just gather your thoughts without resorting to loads of filler words like or.
Right, like the pause itself can add emotional weight or meaning. If I say, honestly, slight pause, I didn't expect that. That little silence makes the reveal more impactful.
It gives it rhythm, impact, yeah. It sounds intentional, confident. not like you're lost for words.
And that flows nicely into the broader idea of intonation and rhythm, doesn't it? English has this musical quality.
A very strong musical quality, yes. Variation in pitch, stress, emotion.
Yeah.
Goes way beyond just getting the individual sounds of words right.
This is where people can sound, well, robotic if they don't get it. I love that classic example sentence they use to show how changing the stress changes everything.
Yes, the sentence. I didn't say he stole the money. Okay, let's play with
that. If I stress I didn't say he stole the money. That means.
Maybe someone else said it, but not me. Okay, now stress stole. I didn't say he stole the money.
Meaning. Maybe he borrowed it or found it or was given it, but he didn't steal it.
Exactly. And finally, stress money. I didn't say he stole the money.
Maybe he stole the car or the documents, but not the money specifically.
See, that one little exercise shows how tiny adjustments in tone and stress completely shift the context and the emotional meaning. Mastering this nuance builds what we could call emotional fluency. It makes you sound real, engaging, in control, not just technically correct.
Okay, so confidence is key. Chunking is the mechanism. Where do we actually apply all this? Because fluency isn't monolithic, right? Fluency in a coffee shop feels different from fluency in a formal boardroom meeting.
That's a crucial point. Your speaking style has to adapt to the context. Let's touch on a couple of major scenarios. Professional meetings and, say, formal writing like emails.
Okay. How does fluency look in a fast-paced meeting, where you might need to interject quickly or make your point clearly?
In meetings, fluency often means clarity and control, maybe even brevity. You need strong, short phrases that signal your intent right away. Instead of trying to form long, complex sentences that might get interrupted, use power phrases. Things like, let's get started, or that's a great point, but here's another perspective.
So you project authority and clarity using simple, effective chunks again.
Pretty much, yeah. Using those pre-built chunks for specific meeting functions.
And what about written fluency, like in emails or reports?
Well, in writing, fluency is more about flow and polish. You're not worried about pronunciation, obviously, but you need smooth transitions between ideas. So you'd rely more heavily on linking words and phrases. However, furthermore, also, consequently, as a result, these connect your ideas logically. A polished, easy-to-read email is definitely a sign of fluency, just in a different medium.
Right. Now, let's get practical about the daily grind, the training. The source material really hammers home the consistency rule. Something like 10 minutes every single day, repeated consistently, is way better than cramming for 2 hours once a week. Fluency is a habit.
Absolutely. It's all about repetition, making it part of your routine. We suggest a kind of two-pronged approach for daily practice. First, there's self-practice. Keep doing that internal narration of your chores, your day. But crucially, try recording your voice, maybe just for 2 minutes daily. When you listen back, you'll immediately hear where your rhythm breaks down or where you hesitate. It's very revealing.
Okay, self-practice and recording. What's the second prong?
If you have someone else learning or a patient friend, try partner practice. Set a simple rule. 5 minutes of English-only chat every day.
Just 5 minutes?
Just 5 minutes. Even if it's just about the weather or what you had for lunch, that commitment forces real-time thinking and application. It accelerates things.
Okay, now I want to talk about what many people call the real game changer, the technique of shadowing.
Shadowing. It's brilliant, actually, mainly because it directly tackles that disconnect between hearing English and physically producing it. The exercise itself is quite simple. You listen to a short audio clip, could be a podcast snippet, a line from a movie, anything clear. And you repeat it simultaneously, out loud, trying your best to mimic the speaker's exact tone, their rhythm, their intonation, even their emotion.
So you're not really focusing on the meaning of the words while you do it?
Not primarily, no. You're focused on copying the sound, the music of the language.
That sounds pretty intense. What's the underlying mechanism here? Why is it so effective?
It basically trains your mouth and your ear to work together as a synchronized system. For most learners, the ear is way ahead of the mouth. You understand more than you can say easily. Shadowing forces those two systems, listening and speaking, to align in real time. It physically trains your mouth muscles to make unfamiliar sounds and adopt rhythm patterns without you having to consciously think about articulation.
So if you want to sound more like a native speaker, you literally have to sort of steal their voice, their rhythm?
That's a great way to put it. Pick a speaker whose voice or style you genuinely admire. Maybe it's an actor, a news anchor, a podcaster you like. Use short clips of their speech for your daily shadowing practice. By consciously absorbing their specific, authentic rhythm and intonation, you'll likely see a pretty quick jump in both your confidence and how natural you sound.
Okay, one last piece of the puzzle. We need to make sure the words we do know are actually ready to use, right? Instantly available. Let's talk active vocabulary.
Yes. Fluent speakers tend to use relatively simple but very effective and powerful words. They usually fumble for overly complex, obscure terms. They deploy the right word, often a common word, instantly when needed.
So the goal is moving words from that passive bank where you recognize them if you read or hear them, but can't easily use them yourself into active speech.
Exactly. And the rule suggested here is all about mandatory usage. When you learn a new useful word, let's take improve as an example, the rule is you must actively use that new word in at least 3 different original sentences that same day.
Okay, so I learn improve. That day, I might think or say, I'm really trying to improve my English speaking. Then later, maybe, wow, this new coffee machine greatly improved my morning. And maybe in the evening, how can we improve the efficiency of our next team meeting?
Perfect. By doing that, you forced your brain to actively retrieve and contextualize the word multiple times. This makes it much more likely to be readily available for instant recall the next time you actually need it in a real conversation. It shifts it from passive to active.
Got it. Okay, let's do a quick final review.
Right. Before we wrap up, let's just quickly recap those common mistakes the fluency killers to avoid based on our sources. First, try desperately not to think in your native language first. Build that direct English connection. Second, avoid using super complicated grammar when a simple chunk works perfectly well or even better. Third, don't speak too fast just to sound fluent. Control your time. Use those natural pauses effectively. Also, really listen actively in conversations. And finally, please stop comparing your progress to others. Fluency is a personal journey, a marathon built one habit at a time.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground today. From mindset shifts to the mechanics of chunking and thinking in English, right through to daily practice and context. The blueprint seems clear. Focus on communication over perfection. Build up those ready-made phrase chunks. Train your brain to stay in English mode.
And actively practice those refinements. The pauses, the rhythm, the intonation. Shadowing is key there. And remember the core builders. Speak every single day, even if it's just a little. Force yourself to think in English. Use chunks constantly. Practice shadowing. Focus on tone and rhythm. And always, always aim for connection, not unattainable perfection.
That really feels like the crucial shift. Fluency isn't this static thing you suddenly get. It's something you actively build day by day through consistent repetition. And hopefully one day soon, you'll find yourself just talking in a conversation, realizing you weren't translating, you weren't overthinking, you were just communicating naturally, confidently, fluently.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought for you to consider based on everything we've discussed today. Since real fluency is about sounding authentic, sounding like you, but in English, not like a robot, take a moment today to really think about whose voice, whose rhythm in English you genuinely admire. Is there a particular speaker whose pattern just sounds natural and effective to you? Now, think about using shadowing consciously, not just to mimic anyone, but to absorb that specific authentic quality that resonates with you. Perhaps that is the voice you should be aiming to build. All right, everyone, welcome back. Today, we are doing a really deep dive into hitting that score that unlocks doors, a high IELTS band. We're talking band 7, band 8, or maybe even higher.
Yeah, we've looked at what works, what top scores actually do.
Exactly. We've gathered the info, analyzed the paths, and now, well, we're ready to basically hand you the blueprint they use.
And it's really important, I think, for you listening to sort of reframe how you see this test.
How so?
Well, IELTS isn't just about your English level, is it? It's a test of strategy, definitely confidence in how you handle the clock, time management.
Okay.
The main thing we want you to get is this. Stop seeing it as just a language hurdle. Start understanding the logic, what the examiner is actually looking for in each section. Once you get that, your own practice, your self-training, it becomes so much more effective.
Right. And we know maybe you're listening now and you feel stuck, perhaps around band 6, or maybe it's your first proper go at it and it just feels like, wow, so much information. Our goal today is pretty straightforward. Give you those practical, targeted tools so you can stop feeling like a nervous test taker. And start performing like someone who's confident, like a native level communicator would under pressure. Hashtag IELTS listening, training the ear for meaning. Okay, let's jump right into listening then. This seems to be where people panic first. They worry, oh no, I can't catch every single word. especially with the speed.
That's the classic mistake. And here's the strategic shift you need. You don't need every single word. You're listening for the meaning, for the context.
Okay, meaning over words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the test is designed that way. It deliberately uses different real-world accents,
Yeah.
British, Australian, maybe Canadian. They want to see if you can understand the message, not just decode the sounds.
So try to mentally transcribe it as a dead end.
Totally. You'll just fall behind. The real strategy is training your ear to pick up on, well, tone of voice, where the speaker puts the stress, the little context clues. Those lead you to the answer.
All right, let's make that practical. Actionable tip.
Okay, here's one. An active listening drill. Do this every day, just 10 minutes. Find some real English, a podcast, maybe BBC News, a YouTube lecture on something interesting.
Okay.
Listen for 10 minutes, then stop, and write down a summary of what you heard in just 3 sentences.
3 sentences only. That forces you to focus on the main points.
Precisely. It makes you hunt for the meaning, not just passively hear the noise.
I like that. Active hunting. What else?
Prediction. This is like a test taker superpower, seriously. Before the audio even begins, look at the questions for that section. Try to guess what kind of answer is needed.
Like, is it a number?
Yeah.
A place?
Yeah.
A name? A date?
Exactly. Just having that expectation means your brain is primed. It's listening with a purpose. You know, often the answer is right where the speaker emphasizes a word, and predicting helps you anticipate that.
That makes sense. Kind of narrows the focus, but there's a catch, right? Even if you hear it.
Ah, yes. Spelling. Crucial for high bands. Your answer might be perfect in meaning, but if you spell it wrong,
It's marked wrong.
0 points. So you have to treat spelling as part of your accuracy. Simple fix, though. Keep a personal list. After every practice test, jot down the words you misspelled, especially the ones you often get wrong when writing fast. Drill those. Hashtag IELTS, reading time, and targeting.
Okay, so listening is about training the ear for meaning. Reading, though. This is where the clock really starts ticking loudly, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Time management is everything here. You've got 60 minutes, 40 questions. That's tight.
And the biggest mistake people make.
Trying to read it like they'd read a novel or an interesting article. They start reading for deep comprehension, trying to understand everything.
But the goal isn't enjoyment, it's...
Information retrieval. Fast. You need to find the answers quickly. The moment you settle in to understand the whole passage deeply, you're losing valuable minutes.
So what's the strategic approach demand? 2 core skills, I guess.
That's right. First is skimming. You read really fast just to get the general idea, the main topic of each paragraph. This helps you know where to look later for specific answers.
All right, like a quick map of the text.
Exactly. And the second skill is scanning. This is searching for specific details like numbers, dates, names, capitalized words.
So if the question is, say, when did the company start its first overseas branch?
You don't read everything. Your eyes jump through the text just looking for years, like 1989 or 1992. Then, once you spot a potential year, you read the sentence around it carefully to check if it answers the question.
Got it. Skim for location, scan for the detail. And what about the language they use? IELTS is tricky there.
The keyword trap. Yes, they constantly use synonyms to test your vocabulary range. It's almost guaranteed.
So if the question asks about advantages of solar energy,
The text probably won't use the word advantages. It'll use benefits or positive aspects or maybe strengths. You have to train yourself to spot those equivalent terms quickly.
okay, anticipate the synonyms. Good tip. What about getting stuck?
This is critical. Every single question is worth the same, 1 mark. So the golden rule is don't get bogged down. If a question is eating up more than, say, a minute or a minute and a half, make an educated guess or mark it and move on.
Come back later if there's time.
Exactly. Secure the easier points first. And please, please remember to transfer your answers to the answer sheet carefully. Silly mistakes there can cost you a band score. Hashtag IELTS writing structure and clarity.
Right, let's move on to writing. Often the most feared section, I think.
It definitely causes a lot of anxiety. But here's the thing we need you to understand. Structure is your absolute key. Examiners value clear organization and logical flow way more than, just throwing in fancy big words that don't quite fit.
So clarity over complexity.
Clarity enabled by structure. Think about task 1, the academic one with charts or graphs. It's like giving a professional briefing. There's a simple, effective 4-part structure you really should follow.
Okay, break it down.
1, introduction basically, paraphrase the question. 2, overview, this is crucial. Describe the main trends or overall picture. Don't give specific numbers yet, just the big movements.
Shows you can synthesize.
Exactly. Then, body paragraph 1, explain one or two key features with data. And body paragraph 2, cover the other important details, maybe compare or contrast something.
And that structure makes it feel professional, even the opening sentence.
Especially the opening, something clean and formal like. The chart illustrates how the proportion of people using the internet in 5 different countries changed from 2000 to 2020. Boom. Clear, direct, shows you understand the task immediately.
Okay, that makes sense for task 1. What about task 2, the essay? Is it just as structured?
Even more so, arguably, because it's about making a clear argument. There's a formula that works very well. Introduction, paraphrase the question, and clearly state your opinion or thesis.
Gotta take a stance.
You do. Then, body paragraph 1, your first reason, backed up with an example or explanation. Body paragraph 2, your second reason, again with support. Finally, a conclusion. Briefly summarize your main points and restate your overall view. No new ideas in the conclusion.
Right. Stick to the plan. But hang on, a lot of advice focuses heavily on vocabulary first. Are you really saying mastering this structure should come before, like, memorizing word lists?
Yes, I am, because structure provides the clarity and coherence. You can have amazing vocabulary, but if it's presented in a disorganized mess, your score for cohesion and coherence tanks. The structure is the skeleton. The vocabulary is the muscle you add later.
Okay, fair point.
And alongside structure, grammar needs to be flexible. Show the examiner you can control different sentence types. Mix simple sentences for clarity with complex ones to show range.
Can you give an example of a good complex one?
Sure, something like, while some people believe technology isolates individuals, others argue it connects them more than ever before. See? It uses while to contrast ideas that shows grammatical control.
Nice. Okay, structure, flexible grammar. What about those little errors that creep in? Spelling verb tense.
They matter. They hit your grammatical range and accuracy score. Even small, careless mistakes tell the examiner you haven't quite mastered the basics, and that can pull you down from a band 7 or 8.
So, final tip here.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Leave the last 3 minutes purely for proofreading. Hunt down those small grammar slips, spelling errors, wrong prepositions. It's low effort, high reward for points. Hashtag IELTS speaking confidence and conversation.
Okay, speaking the face-to-face part, what's the mindset shift needed here?
The biggest thing is, treat it like a conversation, not an interrogation. Seriously, confidence is key. Even if you stumble or make a small mistake, don't freeze up.
Just keep talking.
Keep talking, naturally. The examiner is listening for 4 things, mainly. Your fluency, how smoothly you speak, your vocabulary, your grammar, and your pronunciation. They expect some mistakes, but fluency and confidence can carry you far.
Okay, so, part 1. Those everyday questions about your hometown or hobbies.
Keep answers relatively short, but make them lively. Show some personality. Don't just give one-word answers. For example, if they ask, what do you like to do in your free time?
Instead of reading.
Yeah, maybe say something like, oh, in my free time, I actually love watching travel documentaries. They really inspire me to, explore new cultures and maybe plan my next adventure. It's personal, fluent, uses good vocabulary.
Nice. Then comes part 2, the cue card. You get that 1 minute to prepare. That minute feels intense.
It is, and people misuse it. They try to write out full sentences.
I did that. Then I just froze trying to read it.
Exactly. The key is to use that minute wisely. Jot down keywords or bullet points only. Ideas, examples, vocabulary prompts, not sentences.
Just memory joggers.
Precisely. Because you need to speak for 2 minutes, having a little structure helps. Think about it like this. Intro, briefly say what you'll talk about. Description, give the main details, maybe tell a short story related to it. Feelings, how did you feel about it? And finally, reflection, maybe what you learned or why it's memorable.
Okay, a mini structure for the monologue, that's helpful. What about part 3, the discussion? The questions get more abstract, right?
They do. More analytical. This is where you need to sound a bit more formal, more organized in your thoughts. Using linking words really helps here.
Like?
Things like, well, on the one hand, however, I also believe that. I suppose it depends on the situation, generally speaking. They signpost your arguments.
Make you sound more thoughtful.
Exactly. But the absolute golden rule for speaking, all parts, do not memorize and type answers.
Examiners can spot it a mile off.
Instantly, the hesitation, the unnatural rhythm. It screams, memorized script. You lose marks for fluency right away. Instead of memorizing answers, prepare ideas and topic-specific vocabulary for common themes. Education, the environment, technology, work, etc. Be ready to talk about them flexibly. Hashtag the High Band Toolkit. Vocabulary, grammar, and time.
Okay, so we've covered the sections. Let's talk about the toolkit needed to really push into those high bands. 7, 8, 9. Vocabulary is obviously key.
It is, but the focus needs to be right. It's not about dropping obscure, rarely used words you found in a thesaurus.
No.
No, it's about topic-specific vocabulary used accurately. So, if the topic is education, using words like curriculum, assessment, pedagogy, or lifelong learning naturally makes you sound knowledgeable and scores well. Relevance is key.
Okay, relevant, not just rare. What about grammar? We mentioned complexity.
Yes, show variety. Use different tenses correctly. Use conditionals like if, then statements. But again, accuracy first. Don't force complex structures if you're not sure about them. A perfectly correct simple sentence is better than a grammatically flawed complex one.
So that example you gave earlier, if people invested more in renewable energy, pollution levels would drop significantly. That's the kind of accurate complexity they like.
Exactly. It's a clear, accurate conditional. It shows control. And another thing for sounding natural, which boosts vocabulary and fluency scores, is using collocations well.
Collocations, word partnerships, right?
Yeah, words that naturally go together in English, like you make progress, you don't do progress, or you take part in something. Heavy rain, not strong rain. Strong argument, not heavy argument.
Right. They just sound right together.
They do, and using them correctly makes your English sound much more fluent and native-like. Practice common collocations related to typical IELTS topics.
Okay, makes sense. Let's quickly revisit time management across the whole test as a final strategy point.
Crucial. For writing, stick rigidly to 20 minutes for task 1, 40 minutes for task 2. Task 2 has more marks, so it needs more time. Be strict.
Even if task 1 feels unfinished.
Yes, move on. For reading, roughly 20 minutes per passage. If you get stuck, mark it, move on, come back if you have time at the end. Discipline is key.
And listening.
Use those short pauses between sections to check the answers you've already written. And generally, the night before, get good sleep. Being mentally sharp is maybe the best performance enhancer.
Absolutely. Okay, so to put this all into practice, maybe a quick weekly plan.
Yeah, we could suggest a mini 7-day cycle focusing on these strategies, like Day 1, active listening, listen to a lecture, predict its structure, then summarize. Day 2, reading, find an article, highlight synonyms the author uses. Day 3, write a task 1, focusing purely on getting that 4-part structure perfect.
Okay.
Day 4, speaking, record yourself answering a part 3 question. Try to use 3 specific linking phrases correctly. Day 5, listening to a practice test section, focusing hard on prediction before you listen. Day 6, writing, tackle a task 2 essay. Make sure you include at least 2 accurate complex sentences, maybe a conditional. Day 7, rest. Review your notes and strategies. Visualize doing well.
That's a really concrete plan. Build those habits piece by piece. #tag outro.
Right. And before we wrap up, let's just bust a few common myths that hold people back.
Go for it.
Myth number 1, you need a perfect British or American accent. Not true. Clarity and understandable rhythm are what matter, not the specific accent.
Okay, clarity over accent. Myth 2.
Using really big or complicated words guarantees a high score. Nope. Not if they sound forced or you use them slightly incorrectly. Natural, accurate language always wins. Simplicity is often better.
Good to know. And the last one.
Myth 3. You absolutely need an expensive course or private tutor to succeed. You really don't. If you understand the strategies we've talked about, apply them with discipline, and practice consistently using official materials, you can definitely achieve a high score through self-study.
So it comes down to smart preparation. The score you get reflects how well you prepared using the right strategies, not just your raw English potential on the day.
Exactly. It's about building those smart habits, practicing the structures until they feel natural, and walking in feeling confident because you know how the test works.
Makes perfect sense. Confidence through competence and strategy.
Precisely. So prepare smart, trust the structures we've outlined, and maybe a final thought for you to chew on. If we agree that strategy and structure are arguably more critical than having, say, native-level vocabulary, then which one structural formula should you focus on mastering first to get the biggest immediate confidence boost? Is it the task 1 report structure or the task 2 essay formula? Think about which one, if you nailed it, would make you feel most ready. Start there this week. Focus on mastering that one structure first.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today our mission is really focused. We want to help you break through that wall many beginners hit. Feeling nervous, maybe a bit shy, or just completely unsure where to even begin with English.
Yeah, that feeling of having weak English. If that sounds like you, well, this deep dive is for you. We're laying out a step-by-step roadmap.
We've pulled this from a really encouraging instructional guide. It's designed specifically to show the path from being hesitant to feeling comfortable speaking.
And what the sources really stress, right from the get-go, is that fluency. It's not some innate talent you're born with. Nope. It's about consistency and, crucially, having a smart direction.
Okay, I like that. Because often you hear it's just a long, hard slog. But this guide suggests the beginning is actually exciting.
It really is. Think about it. Every single new word or phrase you learn right now, that's a huge, noticeable jump in your ability to communicate. You see the progress almost immediately.
That makes sense. So our job today is to get past the usual advice and show you how to build that foundation smartly. We need techniques that actually speed things up early on.
Exactly. And we're starting with the most essential first step. And spoiler alert, it's got nothing to do with grammar rules.
Okay, so if we're not cracking open a grammar textbook, where do we start?
It starts with belief. It's purely a mindset thing, actually. The sources are clear. If you walk in thinking, oh, English is just too hard for me, you basically put up a mental block. It just slows everything down.
Right. And language learning, it's emotional, isn't it? It's not just about memorizing stuff.
Absolutely. So the guide asks you to reframe it. Think about learning English like learning any other skill, maybe cooking or driving or even coding. Those take practice, right?
Yeah.
Not some kind of magic.
That reframing then leads to something really practical you can do right away.
Yes. Stop saying, I can't speak English. Just stop. Replace it consciously with, I'm learning to speak English.
That little tweak, it changes the energy, doesn't it? From feeling stuck to, being in progress.
Precisely. It shifts you from failure mode to effort mode. And because learning is emotional, that positive self-talk, it genuinely helps you absorb things faster. It sounds simple, but it's powerful.
And we need to nail down what fluency even means at this stage. It's not about perfection, is it?
Not at all. Especially for beginners, fluency means comfortable communication, getting your message across, even with a few bumps. Look, even native speakers mess up words or grammar sometimes.
So the goal is just keep the conversation moving.
Exactly. And if you make a mistake, laugh. Seriously, every mistake just proves you're practicing, you're pushing yourself. Be kind to yourself.
Okay, mindset locked in. What's next? Vocabulary.
Vocabulary, yes. But and the sources are really firm on this, you have to build it the smart way. Don't just grab a dictionary and start memorizing random words. That's inefficient.
We're aiming for usefulness first, things you can use today.
Right. The guide suggests starting with really foundational categories. Think. Family words, mother, father, sister. Food, water, bread, coffee, hungry. Daily actions go, eat, sleep, sit. Basic feelings, happy, sad, tired.
Stuff you encounter all the time.
And here's a key insight, connecting vocab to actually speaking. Learn phrases, not just single words. The sources call them lexical chunks.
Lexical chunks, okay.
Yeah. Native speakers don't usually build sentences one word at a time from scratch. We pull up ready-made phrases.
Oh, so if you just learn hungry, your brain still has to figure out, I am hungry. But if you learn the whole chunk, I'm hungry.
Exactly. You retrieve it instantly. It cuts down the mental work so you can speak more smoothly, more quickly in a real conversation.
So the rule is, learn a new word or phrase.
And use it immediately. Make a simple sentence. I drink coffee. My mother is kind. I am happy today. That active use is what cements it in your memory so you can actually use it later.
And there was a sensory tip too, right, for building this base.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Say the words out loud. Use pictures, flashcards, whatever helps. But you must physically speak the words. Get your tongue and mouth used to making English sounds. If your muscles aren't trained, it's hard to produce the sound when you need it.
Okay, that leads perfectly into daily practice. Because the big hurdle for so many beginners is, well, who do I practice with? I'm alone.
That's such a common feeling, but the roadmap says you absolutely can practice effectively by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
This is about training your brain to actually think in English.
Exactly. And the easiest way, narrate your own life out loud while you're doing chores, making breakfast, walking outside.
So like talking to yourself.
Pretty much. Give simple descriptions. Okay, I'm opening the fridge. Now I'm pouring water. This chair is blue. It might feel a little silly at first, I get it.
But you're creating your own little immersion bubble, forcing your brain to find the English words for everyday things.
You got it. It trains that habit of thinking directly in English.
But hang on, what about picking up bad habits? Or getting the pronunciation wrong if no one's there to correct you. That's a worry I hear a lot.
It's a valid concern. But the sources argue the benefit of just getting comfortable speaking, building that muscle memory, outweighs the risk of embedding small errors early on. Plus, they suggest tools to help.
Okay, like what?
First, record yourself. Use your phone. Just talk for a minute or two. Then listen back later, maybe half an hour later. You'll be surprised how you naturally notice little things, maybe pronunciation points you can adjust.
Self-correction.
And second, try the shadowing technique. This is really good for pronunciation and rhythm. Find a short English audio clip, maybe from a kid's show, an ad, a podcast bit.
Some easy to follow.
Yeah. And just repeat exactly what the speaker says right after them. Try to copy their speed, their tone, the melody of the sentence. You don't even need to understand every word perfectly.
You're training your mouth and ears to sync up.
That's the idea. And remember, the main goal here is clear communication, getting your point across understandably. Honestly, clarity beats having a perfect accent any day of the week in real life.
Okay, good point. Now, grammar. The big scary monster for many learners.
It doesn't have to be. The sources insist grammar should help you, not paralyze you. It's a tool.
So what's the practical advice for a beginner? Don't try to learn everything at once.
Definitely not. Focus. Master the simple tenses first. Just present simple, I eat, past simple, I ate, and future simple, I will eat. Seriously, these three cover a huge amount of everyday conversation.
90% maybe.
Easily. They handle the basic timeline. Now, before, later, and even before those, really spend time getting the verb to be right. I am, you are, he is, she was, they will be.
Because that structure is everywhere. Descriptions, feeling.
It's the backbone of so many English sentences. Nail that down. And mistakes, they're going to happen. If you say, he go to school, just mentally correct, or even say out loud, oh, wait, he goes to school, and move on. Don't beat yourself up.
It's just data, right? Information for next time.
Exactly. And here's something interesting the sources highlight. Passive learning for grammar.
What does they mean?
It means your grammar sense actually improves a lot just by listening and reading regularly. When you take in lots of correct, natural English, your brain starts to absorb the patterns subconsciously. It's often more effective than drilling complex rules from a book.
Which brings us neatly to those input skills. Listening first.
Yes, listening. The sources call this the most powerful beginner skill, seriously. It teaches you the rhythm of English, the pronunciation, how sentences flow naturally, all without boring grammar lessons.
So make it a daily habit, like brushing your teeth.
Pretty much. Even 5 minutes a day helps.
Yeah.
On your commute, while cooking. But choose your content carefully. It needs to be easy enough to follow. Think kids' shows like Peppa Pig is often mentioned.
Okay. Or maybe short stories for learners. Beginner podcasts.
Perfect. The key is it should be mostly understandable, but maybe with a few new words, just slightly challenging.
And what's the strategy when listening? Try to catch every single word.
No, definitely not. That just creates anxiety. Focus on the main idea. Ask yourself, who is talking? What are they basically doing or saying? Get the gist. That's the goal. General understanding, not perfect recall.
And there was that subtitle trick you mentioned.
Ah, yes. Very useful. Watch something short in English, maybe a YouTube clip first with subtitles in English. Get the story, understand what's happening.
Right.
Then immediately watch again, but without the subtitles. Your brain now has the context, so it starts matching the sounds you're hearing to the meaning you already know. It's a great way to train your ear.
Making English a familiar sound in your environment.
Exactly. Your ears need to get used to it daily.
All right, the other input skill. Reading.
Right. The sources call reading food for your English brain. It's how you see how sentences are built, how vocabulary works in different situations. It gives you a feel for the structure of real English.
Again, start simple.
Absolutely. Short children's books are fantastic. Graphic novels can be great too, with pictures helping comprehension. Or look for news websites specifically for English learners that use simpler language.
And there's an active component here too.
Yes. Read out loud sometimes, maybe just one paragraph each morning. Focus on speaking clearly at a comfortable pace. It helps with pronunciation and rhythm, connecting the written word to the spoken sound.
What about new words encountered while reading? Run straight for the dictionary.
Try not to, at first. Use the context. Read the whole sentence, maybe the sentence before and after. Can you make a guess? Context often teaches the word's meaning and usage much better than a simple definition.
Makes sense. You see how it's actually used.
And to really lock in those new words, the sources strongly recommend a word journal system.
Okay, how does that work? More than just a list.
Oh, yeah. It's specific. Keep a small notebook. Aim for maybe 3 to 5 new words a day that you found useful. For each word, write 3 things. The word itself, an example sentence you create using it, and then maybe a quick translation or a little picture in your own language as a reminder.
Word. Example sentence. Hint. Got it.
And then this is key review that journal regularly, maybe once a week. That repetition is what moves vocabulary from your short-term memory into your active, usable language.
Okay, so we've got the mindset right. We're building vocabulary smartly, practicing speaking, tuning our ears with listening, and feeding our brain with reading. How do we tie it all together to really speed things up?
Integration. You have to weave English into your actual daily life. Stop treating it like a separate subject you only study at certain times.
Make it part of the furniture, basically.
Exactly. Simulate immersion, even if you're not in an English-speaking country. Small steps. Change your phone's language setting to English. Put labels on things in your room, door, window, mirror. Watch movies you enjoy, maybe with English subtitles first.
These little things, they add up.
They do. They constantly expose your brain to English, making it seem normal and necessary. And another thing, active thought.
Meaning?
Try to think in English as you go about your day. Simple stuff. If you're shopping, mentally think, okay, how much is this? Or I need bread and milk. This internal monologue is fantastic practice for forming thoughts directly in English.
Instead of thinking in your native language and then translating.
Right. And then the gold standard, real conversation. If you get a chance, maybe with a tourist, a colleague, online, try to use your English, even if it's broken or hesitant.
Because that real-time feedback is invaluable.
It's the best teacher there is. Nothing beats actually using the language to communicate with another person.
Now, before we wrap up, the roadmap also warned about common traps for beginners, things to avoid.
Yes, really important. Trap number 1, translating everything in your head from your native language. We just touched on this. It doubles the work and makes you sound slow and unnatural. Train yourself to think directly in English phrases.
Okay, what's trap number 2?
Trying to learn too much too fast, aiming for 100 new words a day, it leads to burnout. Much better to focus on, say, 10 really useful phrases you can use confidently than 100 random words you barely remember.
Quality over quantity. And trap 3.
Fear of speaking. This goes right back to the mindset piece. This fear can completely stall your progress. Remember, most people admire the effort. They're not judging your perfection. Just try.
Push past the discomfort.
You have to. And finally, trap 4, relying only on grammar books and reading and skipping the listening and speaking. English is alive. You need to use your ears and your mouth. Practice beats theory every single time.
So it all comes back to consistency, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Fluency isn't something that just happens overnight. It's the result of showing up, doing small things every day. Even just 15 focused minutes daily makes a huge difference.
5 minutes every day is better than a 5-hour cram session once a week.
Way better. Consistency builds the habit and keeps the momentum going. And please, celebrate your wins. Did you understand a line in a song you didn't get before? Did you manage to ask for directions? Did you pronounce a tricky word correctly? Acknowledge that progress. Pat yourself on the back. That builds confidence, and confidence fuels more effort. It's a positive cycle.
It really is a journey, not a destination you suddenly arrive at.
Precisely. Keep showing up. English is this amazing global key. It opens doors to jobs, travel, connecting with people all over the world.
So the key takeaway is follow the roadmap. Stay consistent.
Yes. And maybe a final thought for you to consider. Every single person who speaks English fluently today started exactly where you might be now as a beginner. They just didn't quit.
So with this roadmap, focusing on smart, consistent steps,
ask yourself, what's the first real-world opportunity you want to use your growing English skills for? Is it that trip you've dreamed of, a step up in your career, or just making new friends from different cultures?
Find that motivation.
Find that goal, picture it, and let it pull you through the daily practice. That's your challenge. Go make it happen. Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the research so you get the clear, actionable insights. Today, we're tackling something huge, something that trips up so many people, hitting real fluency in English.
Yeah, it's a common story, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know the feeling.
Yeah.
You've got the big grammar books, maybe stacks of flashcards with all those words you're supposed to know.
Right. Endless lists.
And then you actually try to talk to someone and it falls apart. The words vanish. The grammar gets tangled. It feels like hitting a wall,
It does. And that feeling, that complexity, that's exactly what our sources dig into, the core frustration. It's realizing that all that hard work, all that rote memorization just doesn't automatically translate into speaking naturally.
Right. You end up studying about English, not really living it.
Exactly. You're not integrating it.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Let's move past that idea of just grinding harder. We want to find the smart way to fluency. It's not about secret tricks, but more about shifting how you think about learning, making it less of a chore, more just part of your day.
Yeah, the core idea from all the research we looked at is just that. The secret isn't working harder, it's working smarter. It's about connecting the learning part with the living part. Stop separating them. No more English time versus real life time.
Precisely. They need to merge.
Okay, let's make that concrete. There's an immediate insight here that kind of flips the usual study method upside down. Most people think, okay, learn 20 words today.
Yeah, from a random list usually.
Right. But the sources suggest something different. Focus on maybe just 3 words, but 3 words you actually need or will use, like today or tomorrow.
That difference is crucial. It's about how our brains actually hold on to information, rote learning. That often creates these sort of brittle, isolated facts.
Okay.
Now take those 3 useful words. Maybe you use one in a text message, you hear another in a news clip you watch, you jot the third down in a note.
Suddenly, your brain links that word to a real context, an experience. It taps into your episodic memory tied to your life.
Ah, so it sticks better because it's personal.
Way better. Think about the phrase, I'm running late. It's not just 3 dictionary definitions. It's linked to that feeling, that time you actually were running late and maybe texted your boss. It's instant recall then.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so embedding English into life. That sounds great, but what if you can't just pack up and move to London or New York? That's the dream for many, right?
Oh, definitely. We hear that all the time. If only I could just go live there. But the good news, according to the sources, is you really can build a pretty effective English environment right where you are, like a mini immersion zone.
Exactly that. You create it yourself.
And the key seems to be small, consistent actions, not huge, overwhelming ones.
Right. It's not about signing up for some intense 3-hour nightly class. It starts simpler, like with the phone you're holding right now.
Okay.
Change the language setting to English. Your tablet too? Your main social media apps? It sounds tiny, right? Yeah, almost too small.
But think about how many times a day you glance at those screens. Hundreds. It just normalizes the language through passive exposure.
Okay, passive exposure. But you need active stuff too.
Definitely. And again, make it smart. Don't force yourself to read some classic English novel if that's not your thing. Read about what you already love.
So if I'm into, say, tech gadgets.
Read tech reviews in English. Follow English-speaking tech YouTubers. If you love fashion, read English fashion blogs. Finance. Follow economists who post in English.
So the motivation comes from the topic, not just the language learning itself.
Exactly. The language learning kind of tags along for the ride because you're already interested. The sources even suggest something a bit more challenging. Try actually thinking in English, like when you're planning your day or figuring out your shopping list. Yeah, that's a bigger cognitive step for sure. It's tough at first. But it really builds that internal speed, retrieving words without translating in your head.
It sounds like environment really shapes fluency then.
Dramatically. There was this great example in the sources, a student who really committed to this English zone idea, didn't move anywhere.
Okay. What do? Simple routine. Every morning, watch one short English video, something related to their work. Then this is key. Repeat some key phrases out loud. Activating the speaking part.
Yes, and then they'd quickly summarize what they watched in a little notebook. Just a few sentences. Forcing productive use.
And the result?
Their measured speaking confidence apparently doubled in just 3 months. All from consistency and context, not cramming.
Wow. That's impressive. It shows that even with the right environment, though, it often comes back to vocabulary. And I think, like you said, most of us fall into that trap.
The vocabulary trap.
Yeah, collecting all these fancy academic words, the ones that sound smart on paper.
But that you'd never actually naturally say in a normal conversation.
Right. You feel like you should know them, but they just sit there.
It's like having a huge toolbox, but only knowing how to use a hammer and screwdriver. You might feel good owning 5,000 words, but if only 500 feel natural to use, your real power is just those 500.
So the goal isn't just more words, it's the right words. Functional vocabulary.
Exactly. Words that fit your actual life. If you're in business, you need deal flow, pivot, strategy, Synergy. If you're a parent talking to other parents, it's pick up, play date, nap time.
Stop collecting words you won't use in the next couple of days.
Pretty much. If it doesn't fit your context soon, let it go for now.
Okay, context is king. So what's the actionable technique? The sources mention a specific rule.
Yeah, the 3+1 rule. It's really neat, very simple, and based on how memory works best.
Okay, break it down. 3+1.
Right. So first, every day, pick just 3 new words, but in this important, they have to come from something you actually saw, read, or heard that day.
So from your real-life input, not a random list.
Correct. Could be from that tech review you read, a podcast, even a comment you saw online.
Okay, 3 words from real context. What's the +1?
The +1 is the active part. For each of those 3 words, you create one real sentence using it, and it has to be about your life.
Ah, okay. So if the word is deadline...
Don't just write, the project has a deadline. Make it personal. Ugh, I have a tight deadline for that report Friday. Need to focus this afternoon.
Why is that personal connection so much stronger than just a definition?
It's that self-reference effect again. You're tying the new word directly to a specific memory, maybe a task, even a feeling like stress that's important to you.
Creates a stronger anchor in the brain.
A meaningful neurological anchor. Exactly. The research suggests that just 10 minutes a day doing this targeted 3+1 thing, it's way better for building usable, natural fluency long-term than hours staring at flashcards.
10 minutes. Okay, that seems manageable. Now, moving beyond just words, listening. You mentioned that passive listening isn't quite enough. The sources say listening skills directly impact speaking.
Massively. It's often understated. You simply can't produce sounds accurately if you can't hear them clearly first.
Makes sense.
But it's more than just understanding the words. Many learners focus only on comprehension, like listening to a textbook dialogue.
Right.
But listening to real unscripted English podcasts like this one, interviews, fast movie dialogue, it trains your ear for the music of the language.
The music, you mean like rhythm, intonation?
Exactly. The rhythm, the stress patterns on words, the pauses, the emotion in the voice. That's what stops you from sounding, robotic, even if your grammar is technically perfect. Okay, so we need to actively engage with that musicality. And that brings us to a specific technique the sources mentioned, shadowing.
Yes.
Shadowing is fantastic for bridging that gap between listening and speaking.
How does it work exactly?
It's pretty simple in concept. You listen to a speaker, and you repeat what they say almost immediately after them, like an echo or a shadow.
Okay, mimicking them.
Yeah, mimicking everything, their speed, their pauses, the ups and downs in their voice. You're not really trying to analyze grammar as you do it. You're just matching the sound.
So you're physically training your mouth, your tongue, to move in those English patterns.
Got it. It connects back to how we all learned our first language, right?
Like how babies learn.
Think about it. Babies listen and babble, mimicking sounds, long before they're forming proper sentences. Shadowing kind of speeds up that natural process for adult learners.
Interesting. Okay, we've talked environment, vocabulary, listening. But now let's hit the big one. The elephant in the room for so many learners. Fear. Ah, yes. The biggest block. Section 4 in the sources really tackled this head on. Overcoming that fear and actually using the language.
Because that's what stops people,
Yeah.
the fear of making a mistake.
Absolutely. It leads to silence. People just freeze up because they equate mistakes with failure, with looking stupid. Yeah, and the sources really hammer home this crucial mindset shift. Mistakes aren't failures. They're literally proof that you are trying, that you are learning. Progress over perfection.
That's the mantra. Progress over perfect. If you speak, you will make mistakes. If you stay silent, you make zero progress. It's that simple.
Okay, mindset shift is step 1. But that's easier said than done sometimes. What's a practical first step to break that silence barrier? Maybe without the pressure of a live conversation.
Writing. The sources suggest thinking of writing as speaking in slow motion.
Speaking in slow motion. I like that.
Yeah, because it gives you that breathing room, right? Time to think, find the right word, structure your thoughts clearly without someone waiting for your answer.
So how can you use writing specifically to build speaking confidence?
Well, the trick they recommend is separating the creation part from the editing part. So maybe keep a daily journal. Just write freely. Brain dump your thoughts in English.
Don't worry about errors at first.
Exactly. Just get it out. Don't stop to look things up or fix grammar on the fly.
Yeah.
Then, maybe later that day or the next day, go back and review it.
Ah, okay. So you become your own editor.
Yeah. And when you review your own writing, you start noticing your common error patterns naturally.
Yeah.
You fix them yourself. That process builds organizational skills you can then use when you do have to speak more quickly.
Yeah.
And this all ties back to the ultimate purpose, doesn't it? The sources argued pretty strongly. Don't just study English for English. Use it to actually connect with people and ideas.
Yes.
Make it a bridge, not just a destination in itself.
Right.
That's the philosophical shift that makes it feel less like study and more alive.
English is a tool, right? A tool for communication.
So use the tool.
Use the tool. Join online groups about your hobbies, write actual emails you need to send for work, talk to people online who share your interests. When you use it to express real thoughts, real feelings, you stop just memorizing things. You start living the language.
The motivation becomes real and external, not just academic. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us neatly to the final piece. Making this all stick. It has to become a habit, not just something you do when you feel inspired. The power of consistency.
Yeah.
That was the unanimous point across all sources. Fluency isn't built from occasional intense bursts. It's built from small daily habits. Consistency always beats intensity. Always.
So what's the minimum dose? What's the concrete advice?
Just 15 minutes. Commit to a minimum of 15 minutes every single day. Reading, listening, speaking, writing some form of active engagement.
15 minutes? That sounds almost too simple again, especially if you're aiming high, like complex business negotiations. Can 15 minutes really move the needle?
The argument is that high intensity, like trying to cram for 5 hours on a Saturday, leads to burnout. You get exhausted, you take long breaks, you forget stuff, lose momentum.
Okay.
But 15 minutes every day, that builds the mental muscle memory. It keeps the language constantly active, top of mind. It's the non-negotiable anchor.
There's a really simple analogy for this.
The toothbrush analogy, I love that one.
Right. Tell us.
You treat your daily English practice like brushing your teeth. You just do it. You don't skip it because you're tired or because you only have 15 minutes. It's essential daily hygiene for your fluency.
Small steps, done consistently, add up massively over time.
Monumental change over a year, built from tiny daily actions.
And crucially, to keep that consistency going, the last key seems to be make it fun.
Absolutely essential. Motivation, it comes and goes. But if you actually enjoy the process, that lasts.
So watch your favorite shows, but in English. Read books you actually want to read anyway.
Sing along badly to English songs. Play online games in English. Whatever keeps you engaged and makes it feel less like work. If it's fun, consistency becomes almost effortless.
This has been super practical. Okay, let's wrap this up. The learner, listening right now, what are the big takeaways? The key habits. Okay, 4 main shifts. 1, create that mini immersion zone. Change your device settings. Consume content you love in English.
Focus on functional vocabulary with the 3+1 rule. 3 useful words, 1 personal sentence. Daily.
Use active listening, especially shadowing, to really nail the sounds and rhythm, not just the meaning. And finally, 4, use English as that bridge. Communicate for real. Write, speak, connect. And remember, progress over perfection. Mistakes are okay.
Yeah.
And the sources were really clear. When you make that switch, when you start using English to share your actual thoughts and feelings, that's when you stop just memorizing. That's when you truly start living the language.
Which lays perfectly to our final thought for you to chew on. If English really is a bridge for your real thoughts and feelings, what's one specific thought, one feeling, maybe an opinion, a dream you have, a goal that you've been holding back? What is it you really want to share? And how could you use just one of these smart habits, starting today, to begin building that bridge?
Something to think about. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
If today's episode helped you see English in a new way, remember, the real progress begins when you apply what you learn. Don't wait for the perfect time, because your fluency journey has already started the moment you pressed play.
Exactly. Keep going, keep practicing, and make English part of your everyday life. Whether it's one word, one sentence, or one small step, it all counts. And if you ever feel stuck, just come back here. We'll grow together.
Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment about which tip helped you the most, and tell us what topic you'd love us to cover next.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends who are learning English, because learning together makes everything easier and more fun.
This is Danielle, reminding you that every word you learn takes you one step closer to confidence.
And I'm Sarah, reminding you that English fluency isn't a dream, it's a daily choice.
And you've been listening to English Speak Pulse, where fluency begins with you.